Hello everyone, how are we doing? Welcome to another stream. I hope the beginning of your week's going well. How you been? Mud Flood Weirdos, eh? Yep, today we're deep diving one conspiracy, and that's gonna be the Mud Flood people, because it's been coming up a lot lately on Tinfoil Tuesday. I've even heard some sovereign citizens falling for it. So, I think it'd be fun to just kind of look at a bunch of different Tartaria mud flood conspiracy videos today from different creators and see kind of what's the general consensus from these people, you know? The music I'm listening to is this. I'll send you a link. It's from a channel called White Bat Audio. It's a royalty-free synthwave thing. There's a link. Just watching the VOD for your PDF stream? What PDF stream? I'm confused. So anyway, what did I miss? Ashy Boo, thanks for 31 months, as I'm actually early to a stream for once. Wowie wow. Glad you could make it. Glad you could make it early. Mia Mulder's got a nice video on this topic. She does. She does. Bum 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 bum. Tartaria. Yes, the futuristic empire that never existed. I have seen this video. It's really great. Here's a link to it if you'd like to check it out later. I Might Be a Laughing Man says, took the RADS test earlier today and scored 144. I'm already diagnosed, but this put things into perspective for me. I got a 114. I got a rock. Alright, let's see which ones we're doing first. In no particular order. We might skip around. Some of these are long. We're not necessarily going to get through all of them. I just want a sampling of all sorts of different Tartaria people today.
A choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a rock.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expounding reality. A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
This mix kind of slaps, but it's probably the best part of this whole goddamn video.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding reality.
Welcome to Expanding Reality. I am your host, Brandon Thomas. On this episode, guys, I got a chance to sit down with Max Egan.
Ooh, this guy sucks. This guy's like an anti-vaxxer. This guy's real bad.
Is the mud flood and prehistory Tartaria ancient civilization expert. I have been really wanting to have this conversation. So just like anything, guys, we get the best. We got Max Egan over here to talk about it, as well as he is incredibly passionate and very outspoken for human rights, as we all should be. Right?
Diana Troy vibes today. Ooh.
Right. But he more than most, and he's got some incredibly wonderful things that he's doing with this, which all of the ways to find him will be linked in the show notes.
I gotta remind myself all Max Eigen's bullshit. Because I know I've watched him. I don't know if I've shown him on stream before, but I've looked at him privately, and I know he's really shitty. He's like Alex Jones in that he... Max Eigen, is that his son? Wait, hold on. Anyway, he does a lot of, like, saying mass shootings aren't real, he's, a COVID denial person, all sorts of weird bullshit.
Notes. Please, check him out, but without any further ado, Max.
Sounds like Twitter space material. Oh, Twitter's dog shit.
Egan. Alright everybody, you may or may not have heard of the Great Mud Flood or Tartaria, but we have the expert on to talk to us. Whenever we come at you with something like this, I want to get the best person in the field, and we have it today. So introduce...
Oh god, he's got a Guy Fawkes mask.
To my audience, Max Egan. Max, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for asking me on. Nice to be here having a chat to you.
Man, you are awesome. I've seen tons of your movies. I will, of course, be linking all the ways to find you down in the show notes.
Let's not. Let's see the original upload. I shouldn't watch this video then, because this video is going to get posted to YouTube. Will Mud Flood Monday be a regular thing? No, I'm trying to, like, don't get me wrong. There's always going to be Tinfoil Tuesday, and I like doing like Sovereign Citizen Saturday or Sunday. But I want to mix it up more so we can do more specific topics on specific days. Like I guess it's the opposite of that. What I mean is, like, I want to have a more variety of topics, but focus on one thing for a stream more often, if that makes sense. So we can have more one-offs or things that aren't recurring, but are interesting in and of themselves.
Basically, they stole the power, like I said, so now we go and...
You got an 8 on the RADS test. Jesus Christ.
You know...
I got a 114.
Elect people, right? At the polling booth, between the polls. And we...
I haven't jumped to anything that's like a Twitter alternative yet. I don't know what the winner's gonna be, but I'll go when it gets picked. Can we have another cult watch? Yeah, I'll have to find cults with heavy online presences. I know Happy Science is one. I'm familiar with them. I have them saved. But yeah, we can do that again.
Elect them to power, right? It's all...
Psychotropic Thunder, thanks for 26 months.
This is what it's all about, and now we have to pay for the power, right? Have to pay for energy, you have to pay...
I mean, just based on how everything works, energy isn't free, yes. It costs... It takes energy to extract energy, or to convert energy from one form to a more useful form for us. So when we are in the system we are in now, yes, it costs you money because it takes effort, labor, equipment in order to get power.
To live, you have to... So it's completely, as far as we can tell, it was completely opposite to what we've got now. It was a complete takeover.
If you think about it, people are slaves.
If I want a cult watch, just look at Destiny's community.
To earn the fake...
I'll just look at my own community. Today we're looking at the Stanas, one of the weirdest groups on the internet.
Yeah, money that we have basically to pay for power and food, and shelter. Well, what if all of that was included with the package when you come to Earth? All of that's included. Think of what people could do.
Again, it seems like these people understand and recognize on some level that the scarcity that we deal with in day-to-day life is most likely artificial, and we really could feed and house everyone. We just choose not to because we prefer a system in which a bunch of people can get obscenely wealthy while other people starve. And when I say prefer, I mean we don't have a say because rich people are in charge of the system. Hooray! Somebody in the comments, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Very appreciative. Almost on a hype train.
Hey guys, welcome back. That was our...
The corporate propaganda antidote. I would agree that corporate propaganda bad. However, have you considered that also your conspiracy propaganda bad?
Our old friend David Weiss and our new friend Campbell from the Autodidactic YouTube channel. And if you're a fan of hidden history, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation as we...
Can you be in the Hannah cult and still like anime and or not have posters in frames? Yes, but you will be looked down upon. You will be in a lower caste. Bumble Homestead, thanks for gifting a sub and kicking off a hype train.
Talk about Tartaria, star forts, mud floods, and the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which will leave any thinking person scratching their head.
Oh, God.
Before we start, just a quick word about our sponsor. A newly discovered software flaw is possibly the most critical vulnerability of the last decade for anyone with an internet-connected device.
That article says it's written by Tyler Durden. Did you notice that? Lennon Cat, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Procagam, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Is it gift sub day? Did I miss something? Thank you. That's great. Thank you all. I really appreciate all those gift subs. That's so generous.
About our sponsor. A newly discovered software flaw.
See? Written by Tyler Durden, the fictional character from the book and film Night Fight Club. It's even using the picture of him from the movie. Terradona, thanks for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. Procagam says, just haven't gifted in a hot minute. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. Bittergrin, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs as well. Wow. What a crazy fucking hype train today. Thanks for all the gift subs. We're over level 5.
Is possibly...
If anyone... The level 10 hype rule exists with the maid outfit. I'm just saying, that's still on the table if anyone's interested. You've all been so generous already, though. Somebody in the comments, thanks for another 1,000 bits. Wow.
The most
Thank you.
critical vulnerability of the last decade for anyone with an internet-connected device. This software vulnerability grants hackers, spies, and criminals easy access to customer data off of countless enterprise-level websites.
What does enterprise-level website mean? I need to change this alert box. Now that I have my ADHD meds, it should be easier to do all this stuff.
Privacy is in your hands, which is why I use Virtual Shield nearly every time I connect to the internet. Virtual Shield helps protect my online data.
Okay, we get it. You're shilling for a crappy VPN. Stun him with truth. Look at these graphics. Look at these graphics. How much did he pay for this graphics package?
Friends, thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sean from SGT Report here.
Or is it just a plug-in that came with his program? His editing program. 62% to level 6.
We appreciate you all so very much.
A deep dive on Peter's gun church? That would be good. That would be fun.
I've got a treat for you.
Enterprise is like an intra-network for a big corpo thing? Oh, okay, thank you.
For you. Well, if you like woo, it's a treat. Now recall the last time I had my friend David Weiss on. At some point during that conversation, David promised to set me up with somebody who could be an expert for us and bring us up to speed on Tartaria and hidden history. And before I introduce the guests, I want to show you this. A podcast comment. Awesome show. That's referring to
Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs.
the one I just did with David Weiss. Love your program. Please, please.
Who's David Weiss? You say asshole, I believe you, but what specifically makes him an asshole?
Please have an expert on to talk about Tartaria and Tartarians. Okay, my guests. The one and only David Weiss. Welcome back, David.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me back. I love...
Oh, yeah, I recognize him. He runs he's on the DIRTH channel a lot. Somebody in the comments with 100 bits says we should do movie days like that one, Earthstar Voyager 2082 I found through your stream. Okay, that'd be fun. Yeah, another watch party or something would be good.
Talking about this topic, and
I did see him debate Professor Dave. It was pretty funny.
This is a topic.
89% to level 7. I might be the laughing man. Thanks for subscribing.
Where it's not about belief. You know, we're going to show you, or Campbell's going to show you things that are undeniable. Now, how it happened and exactly when it happened, that's all up for debate, but there's no question that it happened.
Yes, and that brings us to our guest, Campbell.
I bet there's no question.
YouTube channel Autodidactic, which means self-educated. Friends, those...
Look, I fully understand that YouTube and the internet can provide people a lot of educational opportunities. I listen to educational documentaries and stuff on the internet, but I also understand what that is, right? It's me as a layperson listening to entertainment that is education. It's like edutainment. I'm never going to have the in-depth knowledge of something that, like, someone who actually studies that thing professionally or academically, right? But it seems like there's a contingent of people who believe that you can just watch a bunch of YouTube videos and become an expert on a topic, when that's not how it works. By all means, again, educational programming is excellent. I consider kind of what I do about conspiracy theories to be educational in the sense that it, you know, lends you a greater understanding of something going on in the world, and that is the trend of conspiracy theories. But, like, Please don't ever don't ever believe that watching anything on the internet has educated you to the level of considering yourself an expert or even like a journeyman at any topic.
Those of you who know what's going on in the world, at least to any extent at all beyond officialdom, well, you're self-educated, and that makes you a critical thinker. Campbell, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Sean. Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you. You hail from Dubbo, a town in New South Wales, Australia, where you were born, and it begs the question, how are you enduring the tyranny right now, my friend? You know,
how are you enduring the tyranny? The tyranny where he gets to live stream on the internet and talk about whatever he wants. Lennon Cat says, are you telling me that watching old clips from Wishbone didn't teach me everything I needed to know about English literature? This is actually funny. 90% to level 7 on the hype train. I took AP courses in high school, and I took AP World History and I took AP English. The AP English test I got a high score on, the second highest. I don't remember exactly. I think it's a scale of like 1 to 5 or 0 to 5. I got like the second highest score, whatever it is on the AP tests. And I did so, I've talked about this, by writing an essay about Moby Dick. I have to this day still never read Moby Dick. It's just pop culturally pervasive enough that you can know about Moby Dick. And I did great. So, you know, live your dreams. Don't lie on standardized tests, though. Don't be like me. You'll end up an internet streamer. Creeper129, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs. Somebody in the comments with 100 bits says, for the train, I mean that in the sexual context. Oh, okay. 80% to level 8. The full novel of Moby Dick is terrible. Read the short version. Is it there just an abridged version? But what if I want to know the intricacies of Queequeg? Queequeg. Queequeg? There's no way I spelled Queequeg right on that essay.
Australia.
Not. I was born in Dubbo on the east coast, but I now live on the west coast in Perth. So I'm about sort of 4,000 or 5,000 k's from the real tyranny. But over here, they're sort of doing it more.
Fake your way through a test. Interesting. I won second place in a science fair for a project I put together the night before. Yeah. Standardized tests like that can be pretty easy to cheese once you know how they're scoring. Like, we knew exactly how they score the tests. It involved, you need to be able to cite specific instances from whatever book you're talking about a certain number of times, connections to theme. I don't remember exactly what the qualifications are, but we knew what the scoring was, right? We knew how to format our essays in such a way that as long as you know how to write an essay and can fill the thing with words, you'll do fine. And you guys know I can talk and talk and talk, and that translates to writing, though not as well. There's a reason I prefer to do this and not write. But either way, yeah, standardized tests are bullshit. Marcus Drake says, you'll end up an internet streamer. Certainly, the cruelest fate millennial minds can fathom.
Underhandedly. I mean, Australia is definitely a test ground, and they seem to be doing different scenarios. And so in where I am, they're not many lockdowns, though they are starting to bring it in now, but they've been going under the radar and targeting kids and stuff. It's pretty...
What the fuck are you talking about, you asshole? DeWolfie says, I did a project about the solar system, and I learned that in later years it was used as an example to the later kids as the perfect examples of how it should be done. I cribbed most of it from one book. That's a shame. I had that happen a couple times. In school, we did video projects sometimes, where you had to like film a little movie or whatever and edit it together. And I've always been pretty good at that. I've always been good at screen presence, being funny, improv, whatever bullshit. I have a personality. You get it. 2 separate teachers used video projects of mine, and to my understanding, one of them at least still uses it to this day, over a decade later, as the example for the end-of-year final project. And that video is the Nazi video where I'm dressed up as Hitler. It makes sense in the context of the video. It was an AP World History project. I was playing Hitler. It's fine.
Areas, you know, going to the schools and all this kind of thing. So,
Gnome Pickle says, I may have written a paper the night before and remembered the professor saying to the rest of the class, well, it looks... Hit enter after you're done talking.
Yeah, not locked down, but not good.
Well, we worry about those.
The other video was a video where it was like a satire of something like Bill Nye the Science Guy, and I was the science person character.
Get down under, because I think
82% to level 8 with just under a minute left.
I think it's a bit of a test case, a litmus test for how much humans are willing to accept before they revolt. But that isn't really part of this conversation today, although I do pray for a great awakening.
Oh my god, conspiracy people are nuts. I pray for a great awakening. You're just mad you're crazy and other people aren't. MH Darkbeast says, praise Hannah. Let's get her in the maid costume. Have you checked out Arnie's new series on Netflix yet? Nobody tweets about it constantly, which has made me not want to watch it, if I'm being honest. Just because he just is filling the goddamn Twitter feed about it. It might be good. I don't know. I'll save the trailer to watch a little later as a cleanse or something. Gnome Pickle says, hit enter too soon. Much obliged. Kitty jumping onto the desk. It looks like Gnome is the only one who put any effort into their paper. Oh, that's funny.
Around the...
Thank you for the level 7 hype train, everyone. That was a great hype train. Not quite enough for a maid outfit, but what a crazy one.
The world, as people reject this move by the New World Order.
Since it was so high, I'll give you the cat ears. That was high enough for the cat ears. Just not the main outfit.
For essentially the mark of the beast, which I think is coming to fruition through the experimental
shocking. You think the mark of the beast is coming to fruition?
Vaccines. The stuff...
Never heard that before.
Stuff they're finding, guys, the researchers are finding in these vials, some of the vials, is extreme.
Hats off. Habitual Dodo.
Extremely startling.
Habitual Dodo, what do you want me to wear for the hats off?
Nanotech.
AC is not fixed yet, but I do have a window unit in the office now, so.
Circuitry components, all sorts of stuff that...
No ears, only horns? Wow. Habitual Dodo has removed the ears, chat. So any complaints need to go to Habitual Dodo for having me remove the ears. Someone hates the bells. Lennon Cat says, we did papers on comparing the works of a particular British author in an honors English class. I did Bram Stoker, despite being Irish, and the books were Dracula and the Jewel of 7 Stars. The teacher never heard about the book, so I didn't finish reading it. Got an A+.
May communicate with 5G.
Isn't that illegal?
Again, a topic for another day. In this conversation, we're going to talk about Tartaria, mud floods, maybe even star forts. Now, to me, guys, I firmly believe there's a hidden history to this world. We're not even being told a scintilla of the truth about it. So consider this Hidden History 101. We're going to keep this broadcast to about an hour. The conversation can go wherever my guests want to take it.
I'm sure it's all great.
Campbell, where should we start?
Hydrate.
All right. Well, I guess we start at Tartaria. And the fact that there was a huge civilization less than 200 years ago that covered basically Russia, China, India, and we were never taught about it. You know, we get taught all this history and they give it...
It didn't exist. It wasn't one big empire at the time you're talking about. It was just labeled as one big landmass under one empire on the maps because people didn't know what was there. They hadn't explored and reported back to know, oh, it's a bunch of different cultures that are completely separate with different governments and communities. So they just kind of put Tartaria over the whole thing.
Timelines, and they go back thousands of years, but for some reason they fail to mention this.
They don't go back thousands of years.
This country that definitely at one point was the biggest, you know, country, empire, whatever it was, on Earth, and it's just been erased from our history. So that's, it's a good place to start. Is why would they do that?
They didn't. You're crazy. They didn't. You're listening to people on the internet and maps from the 1600s instead of reality.
And when you look into that, then you understand. You start seeing there's all this other stuff that's been in front of our faces, like the whole time. And it's the buildings, right? The architecture. What we're told is Greco-Romano architecture. It's all over the earth. It's in every country, every city.
Yeah, a lot of people like to copy the Romans. I don't know if you know this, but after you create one of the most successful empires in world history, people will take some of that. The neoclassical style is like a known style of architecture. Specifically, it's called that because it is modern people's neo emulating past classical styles, neoclassical. People copy things from the past because they like them. Also, who doesn't like a good column?
They tell us it all comes from Rome, but they can't explain how, the White House is a Greco-Romano building, right? In the US, it's everywhere.
It's a neoclassical building.
And what it is it's the same civilization, had the same tech, and they were building this stuff. They've basically built out the entire world almost, and then at some point we've had a cataclysm, and the parasites come in and basically taken over, and they're going through and destroying the old world. We see it all the time. They knock down all these big beautiful old buildings and replace them with squares.
Once again, I know I always bring up capitalism. I'm sorry. I don't mean to do this every time. I swear I don't intend to do this. It's just shocking how many people's problems and misgivings about the world are because of capitalism, and it's wild to me. Okay, so buildings in the past existed in any project that's a building project, whether it's thousands of years ago or today. There are financial and labor considerations that go into building that thing, whether it's pyramids or the Empire State Building, right? And the two main things that you need to consider are labor and materials, okay? As time has gone on, labor has gotten more expensive relative to materials. So in the past, since labor was so cheap, it made sense to spend maybe a long time building a building that was going to last a long time because you're spending money on materials anyway, so you might as well get people who are going to put it together over long periods of time, and it'll stand there forevers, and it'll look all pretty and stuff as some sort of monument to your brilliance as a society, or king, or queen, or religion, whatever it happens to be. The considerations that go on today for building buildings are basically, what do we need this building for? Are we just renting it out? Is it office space or is it residential? How quickly and cheaply can we build it so we can make a profit? Now, don't get me wrong, there are aesthetic considerations. I'm not saying all modern buildings are ugly, because they aren't. We just live in a period where minimalism is a popular style for buildings. Like, that just is what it is. Things are smooth, often just glass on the outside because it's economical. It's easy to replace things when they break. It's cheap to build, quick to build, relatively speaking. Again, it's a building. It does take time and labor, but relative to the past, we're much quicker at building things with cheaper materials, okay? So these people see that, but they don't understand it. They see a pattern in that buildings look different now than they did in the past, but they are incapable of understanding the reality of why that thing exists the way it does. So they have to come up with a conspiracy, instead of just recognizing, again, sort of perverse motives that might push culture towards certain less aesthetic considerations.
That are bad for the energy, that are bad for people, full of...
You like the Gothic style? Give me flying buttresses. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it. The clock in Beauty and the Beast made that joke. I stole it.
Fluorescent lighting, not good for us when these old buildings actually enhanced energy and they were good for you.
Favorite style of architecture? I kind of like stuff like Victorian brownstone buildings. Especially if it's something that has like vines and stuff growing on it. I like dark woods a lot of the time. The furniture in this room I think is ugly, but like the wood on the mantle and stuff I think looks nice. Like this. I like this a lot. Something that you could imagine in an old college, almost. That's just my preference. It feels warm. It feels cozy to me.
And we'll get into that as well. They weren't actually buildings as far as we sort of look at them now. These are machines.
Yeah, they all have towers and domes.
Yes, that's a feature of many architectural many architectural styles throughout history. I don't know if you know this, domes are an incredibly strong shape. So if you have a dome, it'll be able to withstand and carry weight across its surface area very efficiently. There are reasons that domes exist. They both look aesthetically cool and are very structurally sound. It's why one of the earliest, largest structures was a big dome. What is it? Is it the Parthenon? In terms of like a giant fucking dome. Parthenon. No, I think what's the building I'm thinking of? Pantheon. Thank you. Right? Is it called that? Pantheon building. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. The Pantheon in Rome, famous for its gigantic dome still standing. Domes are dope.
And there is some sort of free energy tech.
There isn't. There is not.
Going on there. Tons of evidence for that. But this picture right here that I'm looking at, I'm not sure where this is. Maybe Campbell knows. But if you look, this is horse and buggy days.
Okay. Somebody in the comments says, what do you get when you cross one of those snakes in a church people with a flat earther? Snakes on a plane. Puns, yo. Sume with a link.
News, everyone. Who likes good news? Everyone? Then good news, everyone.
Okay. Could you imagine them trying to build it today with modern cranes and...
Yeah, it'd probably go quicker. But they also wouldn't build something like this today. Because why would they? Who's asking them to build it? Who with money is going to pay someone to build a building like this? And why? Gnome Pickles says, ran into one of these guys in my old neighborhood a bit ago. This guy was insisting that a building was obviously from the mud flood and refused to believe it was built when I was a kid. I literally would walk by the construction site on my way to school when I was a boy. Isn't it nice living in a society where other people just live in a completely alternate bullshit reality they've constructed in their heads? Fun. Sume says, good news, I got a new job. I'm night shift manager at a Taco Bell. Cool beans. Send me some tacos.
And skilled craftsmen. I mean, this...
But without beans. Despite me liking the phrase cool beans, I actually do not like beans on my tacos and burritos.
This stuff was being built back before the automobile.
Yep.
Yes.
That's the story that we're told.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like everything built in human history before the automobile was before the automobile. That's most of human history. Do you just think humans never invented anything before then?
And before big cranes, how do they get the stuff up on the roof?
There was
too much.
Obelisk, not even that big, that was being moved just recently, and they brought in a crane. It was too small. They brought in another crane. It didn't work. They had to bring in like 3 cranes to move it, drill holes in this thing, and supposedly it was erected by people that had hemp ropes and pulleys.
Yeah.
Like, look at how smug this guy looks. He's like, they didn't have cars yet. Can you imagine? Fuck off. He's such a smug cunt. Like, yes, things used to be really hard. Did you know that before the Industrial Revolution, everything was much more difficult? It's kind of why it's called the Industrial Revolution. It changed a lot of things. I understand. It changed how we think about labor. It changed how we think about things like this. But you can't apply your current understanding to then, you goddamn psycho. Yes, it often took decades and decades to build big buildings like this. Because it was hard and people fucking died. But they're just like, can you imagine human beings doing labor as part of a long-standing project that takes decades?
The same story, there's one in the Vatican, and they say, they brought it over on a wooden boat from Egypt. And even if they could, they never tell you how they stand it up. How did they stand that thing up? It's just...
How did they stand? Wait, what?
There's one in the...
Drill holes in this thing, and supposedly it was erected by, people that had hemp ropes and pulleys.
Yeah, the same story, there's one in the Vatican, and they say, they brought it over on a wooden boat from Egypt. And even if they could, they never tell you how they stand it up. How did they stand that thing up? It's just...
Are you asking how you stand up like a pillar type thing, like an obelisk, if you have one? Are you asking how like basic physics works?
It's beyond.
You could like. Again, does he understand that like things like that do get erected like IRL all the time? Yeah, you would attach something and you would use it. Hopefully it's structurally sound enough, but if not, you could reinforce it and then use the top and lift it like a lever, and the bottom could be basically a fulcrum. There's also a million other pieces of machinery you could use. But like, assuming this is in the past, yeah, you can just do that with like cranks and rope and levers. Like, people had to make physical things as machines that were powered by human hands. But that's why we understand basic tools like wedges and block and tackle and stuff like that. Did you not learn about this in school? My science class taught us about like the basic machines. Like, a lot of old technology just functions on those principles. But people are smart and engineered solutions to help multiply force. Dread Pirate Mix says, it's weird to be an Australian mudflood guy. We have some neoclassical architecture, but most of it was built in the era of photography. Oh, that happens all the time. They just think the photographs are faked.
When you look into the history, no power tools, nothing, no diesel engines, and
okay,
they were building things that we can't do today. And then
no, they're not. We could build this today 100%. We just don't. We just don't, because no one wants to pay for it, because no one has an interest in building a building like that for the amount of money it would cost. It's not a physical impossibility, it's an economic impossibility. Atheist Brony says, let us also not forget that it's a lot easier to finish great engineering projects when you're a king that doesn't give a damn how many slaves die building things. Very true. Spare Keys says, I recommend the documentary on how the Maui heads were made. They were literally walked to their resting sites by tying ropes around them and rocking them back and forth. I've seen that, actually. I'm familiar. Human beings, as a species, we're not talking about individuals, but as a species, we tend to be very clever. We tend to, have individuals within our species that are very good at coming up with solutions. They're creative. It's our primary survival, gift. I understand that we have a lot of things going for us. We're persistence hunters and we're bipedal and stuff. That all helps us. I understand. But, our intelligence, our problem solving, our ability to engineer tools and machines to fix problems that we observe and devise solutions to. That's what has made us the dominant species on the planet. And these people are like, how did anyone do anything before engines? How do you think they invented the engine? Because people are smart motherfuckers. Most of them. Maybe not so much over here.
And they're all oversized. They are giant. It's like, especially I'm from Australia, right? And this is, you know, they tell us a new colony, right? And so the first buildings they build are hugely oversized. They've got 20-foot ceilings, 20-foot doors. So the story is, when they go to build their first buildings, they use as much material as they can. I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. You wouldn't be wasting materials on building oversized buildings in a brand new colony. It's just ridiculous. And then you see.
Do you think that whatever buildings you're looking at now were buildings that were built in the first week of Australia becoming a penal colony? What are you talking about?
The pictures.
Gnome Pickle says, I wonder how these dudes would react to the failed obelisk. It's an unfinished obelisk from Egypt from 1500 BCE, where you can see imprints of the hand tools used to make it, as it was unfinished and never polished. It was left unfinished due to a crack that formed near the bottom. Humans are persistent, friends. They would probably just think it's bullshit, if I had to guess. They would probably just think it's bullshit. It's very interesting.
And you see these big, you know, masonry buildings, and then next to them, these little wooden shacks.
Have I seen the metal orb UFO stuff circling all over the place? I haven't. Do you have a link? I could always watch it tomorrow on Tinfoil Tuesday.
And clearly, we were building the little wooden shacks. We weren't building these massive, because in Australia,
there can be both. Today, I don't know if you know this, depending on the structure you're building, you build it with different materials. Like, this house is made of wood. But a more permanent structure might be made of bricks or concrete or something.
It's supposed to all have been built by convicts, you know, unskilled tradesmen, no tools, and they're just whacking up, you know, these buildings that we can't even. I don't think people could even, you know, design them today to tell.
You're very stupid if you think that. You're unironically incredibly stupid if you think that.
Tell you the truth.
Do you see the creative things people create every day, and you think they can't make a building that just looks like an old building?
Well, that's a good point. And, you know, what I think about a lot is the loss.
It's not a debate. This is a video we're watching.
That we've had as a human culture of the people that can architect this stuff and know how to build it. That's all part of the...
Architect this stuff. Architect isn't a verb.
Hidden history, and you don't have to go back very far to just ask.
Thank you, Cult of Cautious Optimism, for the link.
Some basic questions. I mean, look at Waddesdon Manor, built by the Rothschilds, and of course they
oh my God! Of course we're going there.
Became so wealthy because of their printing presses. They donated this thing back to the state, essentially, I suppose, as a tax shelter, to be honest with you. But beyond that, how about some of the most elaborate cathedrals built? When we're told that essentially people lived in the Dark Ages until the Industrial Revolution.
I'm pretty sure historians don't really like the phrase the Dark Ages. The medieval period is more accurate because, again, people take the Dark Ages to mean that, like, no inventions were made and everyone was just dog shit and an idiot, and that's not really the case. There are certain parts in Europe that definitely suffered a lot due to the collapse of the Roman Empire, but, like, there are places all over the world where stuff was going great. Islam's golden age was happening in the Middle Ages. Just, it's a pop cultural level understanding of history.
If you just go back and look at, how about the work...
Like, I feel like their view of what a medieval peasant is like is mostly pulled from, like, Monty Python skits.
Of Anthony Gaudi. Gaudi form of architecture with those cathedrals. It's mind-boggling. Not only the architecture of being able to blueprint it, but to find the people that are skilled enough to build it. And the technology to build it. So I agree with you to some extent. And
why is the Tartaria BS everywhere all of a sudden? I think like QAnon, it just makes a very good big tent conspiracy. You can fit a lot of conspiracy theories under it without getting in the way of other people's pre-held conspiracy beliefs. And it slots in pretty well. So if you're a flat earther, you could integrate this. If you're a QAnon person, you could integrate it. Whatever your flavor of conspiracy, this could fit in somewhere.
Not an expert on Tartaria, but just the history of the buildings we see beg all sorts of questions that never seem to be adequately answered.
Yeah. All this facading, all the stuff we see, you know, all the columns, the shapes, you know, the porticos, the statues everywhere, all these common shapes and themes and symbols, and we're just told it's all for the glory of God. But when you start looking into it, they start looking a lot like components, and so, you know, what is the glory of God, right? Like, we're told cathedrals and churches are where you go and you feel God, right? You can be close to God. Well, maybe they were literally emitting that energy, right? That a high frequency energy. So you literally were closer to God in these places. It's not a, you know, a conceptual thing that you get from a book. It's an experiential thing. And like Dave said, these all have spires on them. There are the domes. All those domes are resonators.
No, they're not. That doesn't even mean anything.
And resonators basically take put it in the correct frequency. You know, so they're drawing in energy, they're putting it at the right frequency, and then they're basically putting it out, you know, across the towns and cities.
No, it's not. It's a fucking building. Dread Pirate Mix says there are a few early colonial buildings, pre-1830s, remaining, and they're all small. Also, a lot of convicts were skilled tradesmen. They were selected for transportation based on the colony's needs.
And
what a terrible way to be a felon with a skill.
Harmonic.
Please don't send me to Australia.
The harmonics in these, what we now call places of worship, are incredible. When you hear the choir sing in there, it's a whole different experience. It raises your vibration, and if you
you think that the emotions that you feel when you hear someone sing in a cathedral is energy emanating from some sort of sci-fi source and not just psychology at play? Oh my God.
Listen to the old organs, the really old ones that are in there that, you know, I don't even know if they could recreate them today.
They can. People make organs. Let's look. Giant pipe organs. Custom. There's got to be a company that makes these, right? Organ Clearinghouse. Customized pipe organs. Pipe organ, Pennsylvania. Let's see where we can buy pipe organs. I don't know. Oh, well, these are little church ones. I think he means like the big cathedral ones, like these. Yeah, you can buy these. You can buy these. Have they never been in a Protestant or Lutheran church? Because I understand that Catholicism has some big organs too, but like, this shows up in pretty contemporary churches. Like, I've been to plenty of Lutheran churches because my grandparents are Lutheran in Michigan, where the building was clearly built in the 1970s, and they have one of these big ass organs that are up on the wall, you know? Customized pipe organs. Do you guys want to buy me a customized pipe organ? What industry am I in? Am I in other? I shitpost. Bittergrin says, whoops, Link. Organ Stop Pizza. What? Is this just a pizza place with a big fucking organ? Oh my God. Oh, it's a pizza restaurant. Is this pizza restaurant's theme pipe organ? The theme of this restaurant is pipe organ. What in the world?
Hey friends, I'm in Arizona, just outside of Phoenix, and I've been brought to a place called Organ Stop Pizza. It's just a quick one from me tonight because you have to see this. This is American eccentricism at its best.
The entire dining room is a pipe organ? Yes.
Take a look.
Want.
Look at this.
Oh god, it sounds like I'm at a carnival in 1935. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god, I feel like I'm at the circus. I don't like it. Oh, it's so loud. I think this is a cool, fun idea for a novelty restaurant, but I absolutely couldn't. I can't. I couldn't deal with this for 5 minutes. It would drive me nuts. I would imagine anyone who is a pipe organist must love playing this thing. What a unique instrument to get the chance to play if this is something you're into. This is in Arizona somewhere. This would be a good place to film a horror movie. At least one scene. I demand this be a part of the set for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Anyway, that's, you know, not Tartarian, because they don't exist. So, I'm thinking pipe organs might be something we can build.
Today, that is sending out a frequency which they don't want you to have.
The pipe organs are sending out a frequency. That is true in that sound has a frequency. Sound waves have a frequency. Like, a frequency of what? Because frequency is a way we measure waves in frequency. That's one of the ways we measure waves is frequency. And frequency is essentially when you're looking at a waveform, boo doo 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 doo. It's the distance between two adjacent peaks, right? That's the frequency, is how much space there is between peaks and valleys within the waveform. So when you say frequency, you can't just say frequency of what? Of what? You're describing a measurement, but you need to say what the thing is you think you're measuring? A frequency cannot exist on its own. Like, it would be like him saying, oh, there's this speed that comes right at you. Speed of what? You know, the speed comes at you. The speed is hitting you real hard. Speed is a measurement. It's not like a thing in and of itself.
Is it 432 hertz or whatever that harmonic frequency?
Did I describe wavelength? I apologize if I did. I thought frequency was that. Either way, it's a way we measure waves. Frequency. Frequency in physics is the number of waves that pass a fixed point in a unit of time. I apologize. You are correct. I described wavelength. Frequency is still a measurement of the waveform, but it's the number of waves that pass a fixed point. So it's how quickly the waveform is going through some fixed point. Apologies. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate when people do that.
Frequency is.
I don't want to put out misinformation, and if I ever do, and you know I am, please correct me.
And then, of course,
because I am a person and I will misspeak.
Our good friends, the Rockefellers, back in the early 1900s, changed the music frequency from 432 to 440. Which goes against your body's resonance.
What? It's like these people think the brown note is real.
So, you know, they're using sound back then to heal and to...
They're not. I promise you they're not.
You know, for technology, and now they're just using sound to torture and make us sick.
Yeah, I had Len Horowitz on, who's written a book about that, and he calls it the devil's tone. That's all Rockefeller music.
The devil's tone.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that, and
the brown note isn't real. If the brown note was real, you would have heard of some asshole streamer or YouTuber playing it randomly all the time.
Let me give you the opportunity to screen
No, it's not real.
share, Campbell, and maybe you could take us through some pictures, because it just explained Tartaria to me. Okay, you say it was an advanced civilization. What are some of the evidences of that being true? And
if the brown note was real, it would be a well-known prank. Yeah, people would be blasting that stuff at presidential rallies to fuck with people. Like, it would be all over the place. Discordant Vol with 22 months says, been a minute, huh? Glad to finally be able to catch a stream again. I'm glad you can too. Welcome.
Just take us from the ground up. 101. Need a class. 101.
Right. 1 minute. Let's get.
Maybe the brown note is just really hard to produce. Guys, I understand many of you watched South Park as a child, so did I. I promise you the brown note is not real. How would that even work? How would that work? How do you think that would work? You think that there's a note that you can play that makes people shit their pants but doesn't do anything else to them? How would that make sense? How would a noise make you shit your pants? Stone Corbell says the devil in music, or the devil's tone, is the tritone, which is just an interval made of 3 whole steps. It sounds weird, but it isn't really used in rock music a lot. These guys are full of shit. Procagam says the real brown note is the friends we made along the way, and H-Baird says maybe the brown note is the maybe the brown note is the friends we made along the way. Humor's hard to do when mass media is so prevalent because everyone knows every joke.
So the main evidence we have is really...
It's more about decibels than frequency.
Maps. Gosh, I've lost you. Where am I? There.
And is Star Forts a component of this, of that particular society, or is that something else?
No, definitely. The thing is, this society in all the different parts we see, all, you know, the Star Forts, the cities, the water, they've all got canals. It all seems to be one big system that was basically built to...
Everyone doesn't know every joke. Plenty of people don't know me. See, that's funny, but also I literally told a similar joke earlier today. I did electrolysis today, and I was showing my electrologist some Sovereign Citizen videos because she thinks they're funny. And she was like, yes, I love watching, I love hearing about losers. And I was like, you're gonna love my autobiography.
Enhance everyone's life, you know, the opposite of what we got now. It was built so everyone had access to free energy.
Free energy isn't a thing. I Hate Twitch ×2 says, your next crypto stream, crypto bros think for some reason this crypto-based AI will be used for Elon's robot he's building, despite the fact that Elon is making his own AI. And also, the robot's bullshit anyway. Oh, so stupid. Thank you. Oh, I love crypto bullshit people. They're so dumb. I feel like crypto cringe streams should start involving AI cringe too. Crypto/AI cringe. Ow.
So that people were living in, you know, good vibration.
Tech bro cringe, yeah. Hats off. PK the Lost. What would you like?
If you want to put it that way. So it was all about harmony, and all these frequencies also helped, you know, the plants grow. They were growing better food. They were drinking better water. So it was all one big system, definitely all integrated. Here we have a map. So this is, you know, we have a lot of these maps with
cat ears. All right, are we gonna start a war over the cat ears? Who's Team Cat Ears versus Team Horns?
Tartaria. And of course, this one we've got a random disappearing island called New Zembla up here, which we see all the time on these maps. Just these land masses that appear and disappear. But
okay, we've heard enough of the podcast bros. Let's do some of these more edited videos. Infrasound is a real thing. It's beyond our ability to consciously hear. It can kill, but it's also hard to maintain that frequency long, and there's no way to protect the user from the effects, so not practical as a weapon. I know I've heard that as a hypothesis for ghosts. Sound that basically makes you feel uncomfortable, but you don't know why, because you can't hear it consciously. Harold Elbowman says, Tartaria is like a rest stop off for flat earthers, anti-Semitic, ancient alien, QAnon, neo-Nazi, Autobahn. Every nutter is welcome to stop off there and ignore the crimes of capitalism and colonialism and or blame them on the Jews together. I'm so sad that conspiracies are basically all roads lead to anti-Semitism. It sucks ass. Procagam says, the horny ones versus the pussies. Overthought says, in this house we stand the cat ears. And Discordant Vol says, also, wouldn't they have marked the brown note as a laxative by now? True. Okay, I'm gonna do a poll real quick. I just want to see where people stand on the cat ears versus horns. There's no third option. Gaia Oni says, by the way, I'm not sure what stream day this would be for, but I sent you something in Twitter DMs a hot minute ago. My @ is the same as my Twitch name. It's a couple of guys who genuinely believe that the Chinese government killed all birds and they bring birds over from other countries to make people believe that there are birds in China. Whenever people have shown them videos of birds in China, they move the goalpost. I feel like this is tinfoil, but I don't know. Sounds like tinfoil. But you prefer the witch hat? That's not what the question is. The cat ears are winning, so...
Once you are awake, it is almost impossible to fall back to sleep again. Once you discover that the Earth is not a spinning globe...
Have you tried melatonin?
...globe...
Cat ears wins with 65% of the vote.
...but a flat and stationary plane with a firmament above it.
Of course he's a flat earther. Marcus Drake says, there's a great TED talk about a skeptic ghost hunter, and she points out that if you think your house is haunted, all the signs of a haunting are also signs of carbon monoxide poisoning, and please get your alarms checked. Bardlock Moses says, as a lover of tieflings and satyrs, it's horns for me. Yeah, I feel that.
Everything changes. The trusted voices and satanic scientific priests who once shaped our reality and understanding of the world are no longer reliable.
Yeah.
Our first-hand experience...
The scientists have had it too good for too long.
The Earth, as a stationary realm, is at odds with their fabricated narrative of space and spinning planets. The scarring of our land and the barbaric mining of Earth's once majestic giant trees.
See what I mean? This Tartaria shit, it crosses into fucking everything. Big tent conspiracy.
Is at odds with the history books and geological narrative. And the awake are left wondering, what on earth happened? If they've lied about the Earth, space, and the destruction of our flat realm, then how can we trust...
They think the Grand Canyon was mined, apparently. That's what I'm getting from this, is they think the Grand Canyon is some kind of mine?
The official, mainstream historical narrative. The historical
mainstream historical narrative. I don't know a lot of historians, so I'm not gonna, sit here and say, but the idea that historians as a collective group agree on everything is hilarious to me, because if you've ever talked to anyone in any academic field, it's hilarious to imagine everyone in a particular academic, sector agreeing and all agreeing to conspire together. I don't know if you know this, a lot of people hate their fucking colleagues.
Narrative, like the heliocentric model, does not make sense. It doesn't add up. And all it takes is a closer examination and their lives.
I shouldn't even say colleagues, competitors in the field, people who hold opposing hypotheses to them. And in history, I assume a lot of it's not necessarily I'm not going to say subjective, because history is objective, but our study of it has some subjectivity in it and how things are interpreted. So I would imagine historians get into a lot of fights about stuff like that, academically.
Which have governed our understanding of history and the world since our birth begin to fall apart. Let's stir the mind with a few contemplations. We are told that the first true power tool was invented in 18...
Oopsie, didn't mean to do that, sorry.
The world. The Erie Canal motor.
There we go.
We are told that the first true power tool was invented in 1895, when a German company combined an electric motor with a manual drill. The drill weighed 16.5 pounds.
At that point, it doesn't even seem worth it.
And required multiple operators. It wasn't until 1957 that a company called Bosch began designing power tools in bulk that were both economical and powerful.
That's usually how technology works, is someone will invent some sort of proof of concept that's big and clunky, but essentially works for whatever it's trying to do, and then over some period of time, years or decades or however long it takes, technology will miniaturize and become more efficient and all sorts of things that'll make it more viable to become a product that is mass-produced. At least since the 20th century, that's kind of been a cycle we've seen happen in technology. Lennon Cat says, so the China bird thing is probably a misunderstanding of the Four Pests campaign under Mao. It was an attempt to eradicate rats, flies, mosquitoes, and sparrows. The idea was that the sparrows ate a lot of seeds and used to plant crops. It lasted about 4 years, but 2 years in, an ornithological told Mao that sparrows also eat a lot of pest insects, and sparrows were replaced on the list with bed bugs. Okay. It's almost like you should include experts in your decision-making before you make the decisions.
So then how did our historical ancestors, a more primitive, underdeveloped...
Can we not? Really? We're not... In this house, we're not doing the fucking primitive thing. Can we not? Let's not do this shit.
The people design and build some of the structure.
It has this implication that there's some fundamental difference between the people hundreds or thousands of years ago and the people today, and there really isn't. We have different upbringings, education, and culture, but we are the same species. Our brains are virtually identical. Like, we are not that different, okay? If you were born back then, you'd be the same as everyone else. Like, it's not like you're some magnificent being better than them. They just have less education and technology. I'm sure we're gonna seem like dumbasses to people in another couple thousand years or whatever. It is what it is. That's good. That means that humans are improving, generally speaking, in terms of at least intelligence and problem-solving ability, one would hope. Fighting Kagami says, the problem is people like this are opposing academics on axioms, so academia seems united to them. It's like how MAGA people think that the left is a hive mind and vice versa. Axiomatic opponents seem unified to each other. Ms. Cornett Vole says the lens of hindsight is both sharp and myopic.
Encounter. What about all the gigantic monolithic stones we encounter that have been cut with such precision?
Tools. Human beings have been using tools since, like, the Neolithic era.
Ask yourself, could you repeat this today?
Did I see Cheddar Man? No.
With the arsenal of equipment we have at our disposal? And what about the magnificent...
Like, do they seriously not understand that, like, masonry was a skilled craft that was, like, sought after as a skill for probably most of human history since we started using stones to build things? It was an essential function to human society, was the ability to take, like, rocks and big stones and boulders and stuff and be able to shape them, break them, mold them into useful things, whether they're tools like wheels or buildings or building components. Discordant Vol says the lens of... Oh, nope, read that one. Tea with Goblin says, as an academic, I can confirm that even close colleagues who love and cherish each other's company socially will get into heated yet highly tedious fights at conferences. You've not lived until you've seen a red-faced phenomenologist getting defensive and angry because the classicists accused him of undermining the Enlightenment. Meanwhile, the post-structuralists and absurdists are smoking behind the bike shed. Gnome Pickles says that this narrative is essentially someone pointing at me and saying, well, how could people in 2023 have built these smartphones? This gnome character couldn't program a VCR. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Bittergrin says, for as much as they blame Masons for things, you'd think they know more about them. And Discordant Vol says, where do you think the Freemasons came from? They were a guild of skilled artisans. Yep. It's not something they believe, but it is true.
An ancient step.
Behold your exact point. Let me see. Introducing Cheddar Man, a man from 10,000 years ago whose descendant is alive today. Cheddar Man refers to an early Mesolithic individual discovered in Gow's Cave in Cheddar, England back in 1903. He's believed to have met a violent end in his 20s, though DNA analysis, it is indicated, or rather through DNA analysis, it is indicated that this ancient human likely had dark skin, blue eyes, and black curly hair. It's probable that these early human ancestors originated in Africa, migrated to the Middle East, and eventually traveled to northwestern Europe. During that time, England was connected to mainland Europe, enabling travel on foot. This remarkable discovery implies that some of the earliest settlers in England possessed dark skin. The evolution towards whiter or pale skin likely occurred later, as light skin absorbs more vitamin D, obtained from sunlight. Given the lack of sunlight in the English climate, changes in diet might have also influenced this shift in skin color. The introduction of farming introduced new foods to our diet, altering vitamin and nutrition levels. Plant-based foods tend to lack vitamin D, which could have prompted our bodies to adapt and compensate for this nutrition loss. Cheddar Man belonged to a hunter-gatherer society, meaning he procured food through hunting and gathering, as the concept of basic farming had yet to emerge. Human bones with signs of chewing by other humans were found inside the cave, indicating that Cheddar Man was likely involved in cannibalistic practices, possibly for religious purposes. This demonstrates that humans had religious systems long before established religions like Christianity or Islam. The two oldest religions. I understand why they picked those two. They're the two largest religions in the world now, but it's just funny to even imply that they might be the oldest religions when you know? Just weird phrasing. Surprisingly, 10% of the current population in Britain shares ancestry with these Mesolithic individuals. It's an incredible turn of events. 20 local individuals underwent DNA testing, and one of them, Adrian Targett, a retired history teacher, turned out to be a genetic match. Oh, that's convenient. Adrian represents a 300th generation of the Cheddar Man bloodline, and his blue eyes and white nose shape, Freudian, resemble those attributed to Cheddar Man with blue eyes and a similar nose shape. Well, how nice. That's cool. Oops, that's not the one we were watching.
Wells of the East.
Architects were a prized social class in ancient Egypt and almost worshipped as gods. The name of one of the most famous architects from the time is still known today by anyone who saw the mummy. Imhotep was the name of an Egyptian architect who became defiled in the centuries after his death as the god of medicine and healing. Deified, sorry, I said defiled, I apologize. Deified.
Wells, we are told, were multi-storied wells built by our primitive ancestors as ways to preserve the water supply during droughts. But look at the intricacy and
yes, human beings are fucking amazing.
Complexity of these structures. Look at the glory and the finesse. Look at the geometric precision.
And I'm not really, I know this is comparing apples to oranges here, but if we're just talking about like complexity in general and how difficult something is in terms of taking raw materials and turning them into something, you can hold in your hand something more impressive than that. Like, I get it. This is still impressive, but we do more impressive things than that because we have access to technology and resources that they never did, and knowledge, right? This is impressive, and we're impressive now as a species. Just because you as an individual don't understand how this works doesn't mean people didn't back then. Just like because I don't know how to build a phone doesn't mean this phone wasn't made by humans. It was. It was made by Samsung, which is staffed by humans as far as I know. At least mostly.
All dug out and crafted from using hand tools. Yeah, right. What about the gigantic canal network?
It's just funny, because think about, like, I don't know. Think about literally anything. You could say this about, like, the 1970s, okay? Think to yourself, can you believe people used to do research papers for college before people had access to the internet and large databases of accurate academic research? Which exists, of course. You can go and find, like, actual academic papers on the internet. You'd have to actually physically find copies of these things or send out for them or something. Imagine the same thing now being like, people couldn't have written academic papers in the past. That was so difficult and tedious. Yes, it was, but people did it because it was the only way to do it at the time, and it was something that needed to be done. They're still done now, it's just more efficient. And in the future, I'm sure there are things within all of our own lifetimes that are going to come about, inventions that will make our lives easier in ways that now we can't even imagine, you know? And I'm sure we'll look back at the present and say, oh, how did we exist before that thing existed? But we did, and we do. Here we are, without whatever that hypothetical thing is that'll make the future easier. I just don't understand their logic. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Fenekagami says, to be fair, in the past, self-actualization was less common in the past, since that and the higher tier of thinking are believed to largely result from luxuries like higher education and having all your needs met. Well, not what Tartaria assholes mean by primitive in this way. Us as a people would consider ourselves more advanced. I would agree. It's to me that the term savage, or things along those lines, not civilized, they're so loaded because of the way they were used by colonists and colonialism to denigrate cultures that were different or less technologically advanced from Europeans, mostly. It has a lot of racist connotations, if I'm being entirely honest. It's pretty fucked up, and it casts moral aspersions towards people doing their best. It implies a superiority, which I wholeheartedly reject.
We find all over the world.
But yes, we are no doubt more technologically advanced and have better educational systems. I agree. But I don't think primitive is a good word to apply to any group of humans because of the unfortunate implications of that verbiage.
The Erie Canal in America was allegedly built between 1817 and 1825. There were no civil engineers in America at this time. The people responsible for planning construction were novices, we are told. The canal is 12 meters wide and 4 meters deep. The Erie Canal spans 363 miles. But this was not just a case of digging each day for the Irish immigrants and their oxen companions. They had to fell hundreds of trees as they passed through the virgin forest. They had to build complicated aqueducts and locks, and they had to pass...
Yes, I'm sure it was a pain in the ass.
...pass through the Niagara Escarpment, an 80-foot-high wall of hard limestone. They had to use black powder to blast through this, we are told, as...
Again, this is just incredulity as an argument. The fact that you find this hard to believe for whatever arbitrary reason doesn't mean there isn't evidence that it happened. It did happen.
Dynamite had yet to be invented.
Okay.
The canal spans 363
TNT might not have existed, but we had explosives prior to that. They were just less efficient.
miles and was constructed over an 8-year period. This means that on average, 1 mile was completed every 8 days. What a record, especially since those responsible were novices, and power tools and dynamite were yet to be invented.
Yeah, cheap exploitive labor will get a lot done, unfortunately. That's why we need to have regulations against it, so people don't take advantage of people.
I can tell you now, the so-called early settlers of the Americas did not build these canal systems.
Okay, Odd Tall Man, have fun.
Of the grand and magnificent...
Atheist Brony says, so much of this is just, I'm lazy and stupid, therefore I can't believe anyone was intelligent and hardworking. To an extent, I understand this mentality because the human existence on a day-to-day basis is just so fundamentally different than it was back then. Like, we as a species are very much the same mentally, at least in terms of our capabilities. But, like, our opportunities and our day-to-day living situation is so wildly different. So you do look back on stuff like that and go, oh my god, that sounds like a nightmare. How did people live like that? But to them, it was just normal. That was just life to them. That's what life was. Having a trade, being able to do it, you know? Far from the worst situation to be in back then.
Castles scattered across our realm. Did you know that most were designed and constructed without plumbing systems and methods to heat rooms properly? The royal and the elites of the past were content without having the accessible necessities of survival just as long as they could live within the grand and the glorious, while the peasants, in their modest abodes, enjoyed warmth throughout the long dark winters? I don't think so. And of course, there is the impossibility of the Great Giza Pyramid Complex. The pyramids, we are told, were constructed somewhere around 2500 BC. The Great Pyramid itself consists of 2.3 million blocks of limestone and granite.
Marcus Drake says, I once read a whole book on the Erie Canal for a high school history class, even as a history nerd and a rational Pennsylvania defender. That shit was boring. Pennsylvania defender.
And its overall structure weighs 6 million tons. The largest granite stones weigh between 20 and 80 tons each. 20 tons is 20,000 kilograms. These blocks were carved from quarries with copper chisels and allegedly transported from 800 kilometers away.
Yes, it's impressive. That's why it's one of the wonders of the world.
The so-called experts can only theorize that a vast amount of slave labor was required. Being gullible and falling for the official narrative.
I'm pretty sure the current understanding is not that it was slave labor, it was actually undertaken both unskilled laborers as sort of a tax situation. People would be conscripted into it as part of like a debt to society, but they weren't like necessarily like they weren't into slavery for like their entire lives, and then there were skilled laborers who were paid contractors, basically.
Of slave labor is one thing, but can someone...
Logs and ramps, man.
Please explain how the air shafts of the Great Pyramid align so neatly with the circumpolar stars?
I don't know, man. Ancient people liked stars a lot. It's part of their religions and their understanding of the universe as they understood it. Like, those people dug astrology, man.
And then there is the curious case of star forts, or what the official liars of the world call bastion forts.
I know someone in chat earlier said these were built specifically because the design helped guard against cannon fire. So that's a lot later in history than what he was just talking about.
Developed in the late 15th and early 16th century, these forts, we are told, were designed during an era of gunpowder and the cannon. The geometric design offered a nation's military protection against blind spots during conflict. Of course they did. We all know that the best protection during war is to design a fort with such precise geometric patterning. Has any real historian ever stopped to think just how perfect the geometry is here?
Did he seriously just ask if historians stopped to think about history? Reno Redhead, thanks for 33 months. Stone Corbell says, like, imagine you have no internet, no TV, not even books. All you have to do is look at the sky at night and tell stories. Yeah. To answer his question, yes, historians have thought about this. Like, do you think people in the past were idiots and didn't have ways of measuring things? Like, surveying and building large structures and planning things using surveying isn't a new thing. People have had to do this to build structures and cities since the beginning of civilization.
Our primitive ancestors did not have the technology to view structures from above, but they still managed to achieve this. Give me strength. There is no way.
Why? Why do you think that? Why do you think people couldn't measure angles?
We could not produce such...
Like a compass or like a sextant or like any of these tools that could potentially be used to measure angles on paper and then eventually be able to use bigger tools to put those like in a bigger format, you know, like on the ground. It's a thing.
Perfect geometry on this scale today. We've been fooled once again. We have been indoctrinated.
Protractor, that's the fucking word I was thinking of when I was saying compass and stuff. Protractor, thank you.
With a false historical narrative and timeline. And, like the silly heliocentric model, all it takes is a closer look at this narrative and things soon start to fall apart, and the lies become so blatantly evident. Because of their satanic lies, piecing together an accurate, honest historical timeline has become an impossible Rubik's Cube.
It really isn't. You're just a dumbass who doesn't want to believe reality.
The official narrative, a Pandora's box, only offering us tiny clues, half-truths, and deceptions. The stitchings of our true historical timeline have been loosened. The contents erased and muddled before we were even born into this world. And herein lies the problem. How to know where you are going if you don't know where you are in the first place. But you see, awakening is truly a gift. Once awake, we learn that we've always had the answers right in front of us. We've always had more than we know. But we had to regain our sight first, before things started falling into place. Before things started to make a little more sense. And here we are again, viewer, at the precipice of another great journey. What if I told you that before us there existed a civilization that was responsible for the most advanced technology ever developed?
I'd asked if you had taken your meds today. DM Trey says, I'm a huge gun nerd. Here's a vid showing why you want those sharp angles. Interesting.
I don't think I'm ready to talk. It's so cold. My lips are like so dry. I can't even like speak properly right now. My lips are moving like 1 mile per hour. Okay, good morning, Jasperi.
Good morning, good morning.
We created a sloped armor. Come closer. So, I'm not gonna lie. I took this idea from this other channel that came across my YouTube feed. It was this guy's channel, Ryan Kong, if I'm not mistaken. They created an armored plate, sloped armored triangle. It's supposed to represent the same thing they do with tanks. They give them a slope so it increases the thickness of the...
I just want to see him shoot
ready,
it.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Woo!
I'm also shooting it right at center position, so it should ricochet that way. So that didn't make it through. Let me dump these ones in this lake. Guess what? Come here. Remember I told you guys that lake we were riding our bicycles? It's a full lake, frozen too right now. Watch this. Ice. Wait. Smooth. I love all HK products. Okay. Listo?
I'm ready.
I never shot. Hopefully I don't hit the tank. Okay, good. Aim. Okay, next round.
Jesus Christ. Guns are scary.
And that it was their understanding of the workings of our flat realm that was key to their innovation.
KBS666, thanks for 27 months. Is that a sub baby? I think it is. This sub baby's name is going to be Gonzola Paparazzo. Jump to 13 minutes. Okay, one sec, I'll go back to it. That wasn't the correct thing. Where was it? There we go.
Yeah, look, it's black. It's tilted.
Yeah.
Let's go check. There it is. That's the most damage we've gotten so far, and it hit the table right in the bottom. Bam! It did not go through. I'm gonna take one more shot and put something here on the side, see what happens to it, okay? I'll be right back. That's why, ready? Ready?
I'm ready.
Final.
Why are they shooting at a propane tank? To show the effectiveness of this as a way to protect against gunfire. This is the same thing as the star forts, basically. Oh, there it goes.
There goes the bottle of water. Clear.
Wow, it even took 2 shots with that, and that is a high caliber gun, I'm guessing?
And what if I told you that it is highly likely that our true history as a people only begun just over 200 years ago? Would you think of me as mad once again?
Yes.
Do I sound as preposterous as when I first told you that the Earth is...
Yes. Atheist Brony, thanks for 30 months with tier 2, says, hope you're having a happy day. I am. I'm doing great. I've been doing great since I started my meds. My new ones for ADHD.
Flat? Perhaps. And that's why I need to show you. What I hope to show you is one of the greatest cover-ups of all time. It is on par with the heliocentric lie in its enormity and the impact it has.
Imagine where you have to be in life where the phrase, this is on par with the lie that the earth is round, and you go, okay, tell me more.
Upon humanity.
Chris must have watched this video. I wonder if this is how he got into Tartaria.
And, as I will try to show you, it is inextricable from the true nature of our flat realm Earth, and you cannot understand one without understanding the other. We cannot waste time, for we must journey in search of lost time.
DM Trey says, for you non-gun nerds, that was a 50 cal loaded with a black tip high velocity ammo. I know some of those words.
At its heart, this is a story about deception. It is also a story of endings and beginnings, of death and rebirth. And please...
You're right, heliocentric is the sun in the middle, but he's also a flat earther. Heliocentric is, yes, the fact that the sun is the center of our solar system.
Bear with me. Due to the deceptions and falsities underpinning our historical narrative, this story cannot be told in a linear fashion. We need to go back and forth in time to really draw out something that brings us a little closer to the truth. It is also imperative to understand that, like much contemporary science, history as a discipline was corrupted a long time ago. At its most innocent,
Josephus!
A lot of established historical narrative is guesswork. But at its worst, it is a set of lies agreed upon as a...
I'm 14 and this is deep.
So-called...
History is just like the lies that we all agree to, man. History's written by the victors, man.
Napoleon put it so succinctly. We are going to be digging in the dark. No historian will be there to help us. We are alone in this journey. Our journey is a hunt for things buried in plain sight. And things may become a little uncomfortable at times, but it is necessary. We have been living a comfortable lie for far too long now. Come on, jump in and put your seatbelt on. For to understand our place in the world, we need to do the unthinkable. It's time for us to take a journey back to the future.
Hello, Universal. I have someone you need to send a cease and desist to.
Begins in the unlikeliest of places. 19th century St. Petersburg. At the entrance to St. Isaac's Cathedral. The city cold, the early morning mists dissipating with the approach of the sun, and our boots caked in mud. The year is 1860, and while St. Petersburg stands regal and proud, its inhabitants are nowhere to be found. It is quiet, too quiet. The population of St. Petersburg in the 1860s was, we are told, roughly 500,000 people, and yet there is not a soul in sight. Where is everybody? The long shadow of Alexander Column gives us a clue as to the time of the sun's journey above this region. Long shadows.
Since they aren't able to make a legacy sequel or reboot to Back to the Future, do I think they'll make a game? They already did. It's pretty good. It's a Telltale game.
Only occur during morning or evening. It must be morning, but it appears that no one has surfaced yet.
It's pretty good in terms of being like a follow-up to Back to the Future. Yeah, my major gripe with it is that the guy who's playing Marty, he does an alright impression of Michael J. Fox. I'm not shitting on him. Like, the guy, he does a pretty good impression, but it's off enough that it's so noticeable to me, especially up against Christopher Lloyd, who did reprise his role as Doc, so he sounds right, but then Marty's there and he's just, like, off, and it's a little weird, but it's a fun game. I'd recommend it if you like Back to the Future or Telltale games. Gnome Pickle says, new drinking game just dropped. Every time this dude says, we are told, take a drink. The winner is the last one to require medical intervention. Record holder lasted 5 minutes.
If we travel 400 miles across to Moscow, we see the same thing. Empty, quiet street.
Sir, they intentionally... Okay, I don't know if he knows this. Today, when you take photographs, it's kind of a throwaway thing, because everyone has cameras in their pockets all the time, so people just take photos willy-nilly. Oh, do you want a photo? Let's take a photo. Let's take a photo of that. That's cool. Let's take a photo. Photography was new at the time, so photos were like a special thing. So they would go, okay, we want to take photos of this architecture of the city, but we don't want a bunch of random people in the shot. We just want the city. The city itself could have hired a photographer and said, hey, this area we're roping off. People aren't allowed in here for a little bit while we get this photo taken. That's really not difficult.
In 1860, Moscow shared a similar
Photo editing also exists in a way that can remove people. If you take a bunch of photographs of the same exact thing with people in different positions, you can effectively splice together different parts of the image and make it look like it's empty, even when there are people there the whole time because they're at different places in the photo. Again, I don't know which way they did this, but there are about 10,000 explanations that are much simpler than any of the nonsense this man is talking about.
Population with St. Petersburg, roughly 500,000.
Oh yeah, I understand why Michael J. Fox didn't reprise his role. I totally understand. It's nothing, like, that I'm upset about. It's just a criticism of the game, in and of itself.
Citizens. But again, where
Juggle.
is everybody? What about the rest of the world during this time period? Edinburgh, Scotland, 1840s. Copenhagen, Denmark, 18...
I'm getting better at it again. It's been a while since I juggled, but since I've been doing it more, I'm getting better at it. Hydrate.
40s. Dresden.
Yeah, photo editing existed back then. In fact, there was a series of fake photographs that are pretty famous. Fake fairy photos. These were done a very simple and practical way, which I'll explain in a minute if you're not familiar with it. I believe these photos actually tricked Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He believed they were real because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is a crazy person. No offense, I'm a big fan of Holmes and all the Holmes stories. But Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the guy, was a fucking whack job. Anyway, photographic editing and photographic fakery are nothing new. It's been a thing for a very long time. Quite simply, they cut out little things from a magazine that had pictures of this and then photographed it in such a way the cameras are early enough and bad enough. No offense to the daguerreotypes or whatever this is. But, you know, when you look at it and you know what it is, oh, that's a cutout from a magazine, you go, oh, yeah, of course it is. Look at it. But if photography is a brand new thing, and you're Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, apparently you buy it.
Germany, 18...
Dr. Gamble says, behold, one of the first HDR multi-exposed photos circa 1856 by Gustave Le Gray. Hold on, I gotta zoom out a lot for this. Ooh! Wow. Nice. Oh, you can even see, like, ships on the horizon. Beautiful.
1960s.
Bittergrin says, seems like the city pictures are empty because the pictures needed to be exposed for so long that people walking wouldn't have been captured. Well, if that happened, I feel like it would cause streaking, right? And if anyone was standing still for any amount of time, it would, again, cause issues. Like, even in long, like, again, maybe the early photography worked different. I don't know a lot about photography. I might be wrong. But when I've seen, like, even pretty slow things that take a long time to expose, if you walk through it, it doesn't not detect you. It just creates a weird streak. It's compositing, taking an image and overlaying it on another image, then take a picture, completing the effect. Okay.
Rio in Brazil, 1860s. Toronto, Canada, 1860s.
It's funny to me that they act like there are no photos from this period with people in them in the cities. There are. I've shown them on stream when we've covered Tartaria people before. They intentionally show the photos without people, but there are photos of people in these cities from this period.
Athens in Greece, 1860s.
I can even look this up. There might be an official, like, explanation for this. Why are there no people in old photos of cities? I know that's not necessarily an accurate statement, but it's usually an easy way to find stuff on Google. I know there are photos of people in cities from back then, but I'm Google-fooing. See, this one says also the exposure time for a photograph in the late 1800s was several seconds, but it was several seconds. I feel like it would, again, cause a lot of streaking. Marcus Drake says, I don't know if this would be for stream at some other time or if you'd like to watch it personally, but this is an interesting video on spirit photography from the 1800s, including how the tricks were done. Thank you. It's interesting. Oh god, it's a chat. Oh god, Quora, why? Oh no. Quora is apparently using ChatGPT as an automatic answer now. That's not good. That's gonna give people really bad information. Oh shit, why do companies not understand what Chat GPT is? Okay. I'm going to take it as either they kept people out of the pictures intentionally because they can do that, because the government can fucking do that, or it's the exposure time thing. Better question, where are the beach towels? True.
And then London. Finally, people. And what about Paris? People.
Oh look, there's literally photos.
Life.
Okay, I'm imagining that these photos were taken for a different purpose, or with different kinds of cameras.
The first photograph, we are told, was created in 1822. The art of photography relies on methods of juxtaposition, of comparison and contrast to deliver its message and sentiment. In these old photographs, we do not find the same deliberate techniques of juxtaposition that contemporary photographers.
Yeah, it's early photography.
Craft.
That's like saying old movies aren't real because they don't use modern editing techniques. Like, yeah, it takes time for a medium to develop and people to learn how things work within said medium. What effects, what techniques invoke different feelings in an audience and responses. Oh my. Hot take techniques for any particular anything improve over time. Discordant Vol says they had to wait for the textures to load in.
Into their art. But rather, we find natural contrasts that are so important and central to navigating through our deceptive history.
This is the first photo of a human being. Oh! Excuse me. The first picture of a human being taken in Paris in 1838. See, this looks like they were trying to do something similar and cleared out the street, but there just happened to be a person who got in the fucking shot, and they're a little blurry. You can't see the person, they are... You guys can see my cursor, right? They're right here. See what I mean? I feel vindicated. That's good.
Contrast is a phenomenon, natural or artificial, in which
Okay. I'm done with this guy. Next one.
When people hear the term apocalypse, they usually think end times destruction, Armageddon, full-blown war.
Also, when photography was new, people were more interested in seeing things that they couldn't see themselves, so photographers stuck to this kind of stuff. It's not surprising. I can imagine people being like, why would you just take a photo of, like, a street with a bunch of people? I see that every day outside. Like, they're not thinking to themselves, this is a historical photograph that's going to be viewed hundreds of years from, like, they're just like, I'm taking a photo of a unique thing. Andronicus Khan with 100 bits says, as someone who has worked construction professionally and is also a fan of the actual science behind how ancient peoples built the things they built, the technology used to set up even extremely complex symmetrical layouts and these hyper-advanced tools known to us Illuminati Masons as sticks, strings, and basic math. Are you telling me aliens didn't invent the plumb bob? Atheist Brony says, so the first video of a person ever wasn't porn? Mind blown. The article says it was a 15-minute exposure. People didn't show up unless they were very still for a long time. Okay! Well, there you go. Question answered. Hip hip hooray. Discordant Vol says, I think of the planet Dark Side is from Apocalypse?
Like the predictive programming. 2012. It actually means the revealing or the unveiling. But
oh, duh, you were responding to the video. Sorry, I forgot and then remembered.
The Bible says end times, man will travel to and fro And so will information. I think we're clearly there.
People traveling here and there and information traveling just describes basically all of human history. The establishment of trade routes, both for the trade of goods and ideas, is a fundamental aspect of history that's studied, because people bringing things, ideas, inventions, concepts to other cultures is just how societies change and advance, at least one of the ways, not the only way, but like cultural synthesis, absorbing ideas, borrowing things from other cultures is kind of a fundamental thing in human history, right? So like in Asia, when gunpowder was invented, that shit spread because it was useful, right? That's information spreading. When paper was invented, again, similar, those techniques spread out. God.
They have to give it to us. It's some kind of esoteric metaphysical law.
Does he think like doing the echo effect makes him seem smarter? What's the deal with that?
They have to give us the chance to see. I mean, it's at your fingertips, all of it.
At the 15-minute mark, they shot the steel plate straight on the bullet got through. I think we got to the 15-minute mark and it blew up, right? Oh, maybe not quite.
So, yes.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, showing the difference between the angled thing and the straight on. It's gonna do it in one shot, I bet.
I'm tired. Ready, everyone?
I'm ready!
Why not?
Oh, shit! This is Hank Hill's worst nightmare. That was actually kind of awesome, though. I didn't know that really happened. Okay. Video games are right. My bad. That's like the closest to a video game thing in real life I think I've ever seen. Like, oh, that works? Okay, cool.
Vinci.
Let's not shoot it. I'm horrified of propane tanks now, so thanks for that.
He says 3 kinds of people. Those who see when shown, those who don't see. There's a 4th kind.
Leonardo da Vinci didn't think the Earth was flat, and I'm guessing you do, so how's that mesh? I Might Be the Laughing Man says, why wasn't the tank painted red?
And that's everywhere.
It should have been, clearly. Cloud Wizard says, better to stay away from red barrels. I want to play Half-Life. Can they just release Black Mesa, the remake of Half-Life, on console, please? That'd be great.
The world is enough. Endless distractions, sports, Hulu, Netflix, endless video games.
You'd watch a Half-Life stream? I have Half-Life 2. I could play Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2. I have Portal, though I've played that in its entirety on stream before.
It's
taste the meat and the heat.
All there for the seeking, for the finding.
Taste the meat, not the heat.
That's the mission. Find the keys.
Hulu is a thing. Disney owns it.
Open the door. Walk out.
The new season of Futurama is coming out on Hulu.
Creators set us up in a system.
Incidentally, you were playing Black Mesa today. Good stuff. I haven't actually played Black Mesa. I played the original Half-Life when I was a kid because for some reason at my house we had it. I don't know why. I don't have older siblings. My parents don't strike me as the kind that would have played Half-Life, though my mom liked Myst a lot, so maybe she was thought to buy Half-Life because it was also a PC game after she liked Myst, and then it, like, didn't click with her. Either way, I played Half-Life, and I loved that shit. Dr. Gamble with 50 bits.
Taste the meat.
I remember. Okay, yeah, I remember this.
And the heat.
A manager mode, huh? Wow.
It's always funny to me how, like, TV shows depict video games, and sometimes you can tell that, like, the people depicting the video games have never played video games. This one isn't too bad. It's clearly supposed to be like GTA. The most recent ones at the time, I think, was San Andreas, so it's emulating basically GTA San Andreas.
North Arlen's changed.
But with Hank Hill.
Changed.
Baby for a walk.
Oh no! Get him, Hank!
Well, this bobtail handles nicely.
Like, the camera angle doesn't make sense. Like, you would not be able to drive a car effectively in a video game with a fixed camera angle like this. Like, look at it. Like, what? What is this? The whole thing spun around, but the camera remained static behind him? What the this would be impossible to control. Is it Resident Evil 1? But a GTA game?
Chase him.
You did it!
And now it's a side-scroller, suddenly. It suddenly looks like a side-scroller from a completely different genre. Oh, and he got like a power-up like he's Super Mario, but it's a GTA game. But it's like a Super Mario power-up. And it's still a side-scroller now. Okay. Oh, and he got a second power-up right next to it. That's bad gameplay design. What? Oh, now he did a flip, so it was 3D again.
Excuse me,
now it looks 3D, but again, it's a fixed camera. They're all the same. I don't feel like people would want to play a game where they're all virtually the same guy. Discordant Vol says this bobtail handles nicely is so weirdly wholesome.
Driving home to have a hot meal with my wife and my son, whom I love so much.
Escúchame.
This is what it looks like when I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. Again, why does it look like now it looks like a fighting game? Like it's like they're on a fixed like side view and in combat with each other. It's like the genre of the game changes depending on what they narratively need to get across for Hank. Where's the button to turn myself in? Yeah, I remember Peggy got God mode. I'm a big fan of King of the Hill. I remember most of the episodes.
In any good test, you don't get the
It's also an MMO, though. Yes, it is an MMO.
answers. You have the ability to study. When the time comes, you need to crack the code. It's like you woke up in a ditch. You'd ask yourself a few questions. Where'd I come from? How'd I get in here? And how do I get back?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how high is this guy?
It's all set up. It's our job to figure out how to get back.
And in universe, yes, the game was made by a team of like 2 amateur programmers who somehow developed a popular MMO.
When archaeologists come across artifacts that they can't neatly
basically predicted GTA Online, though.
Pin into their timeline, they call them oops, out of place artifacts.
Do they? Who calls them that?
And that's it. They sweep.
Relevant. I'll decide if it's relevant. Oh yeah, I remember this.
Howdy, Con.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Here you go. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane.
Hanky doesn't have a propane grill. How's he supposed to use that? Did you just assume he had a propane grill? I understand that's maybe... I get he's obsessed with propane. Like I said, I know the character. But it seems like he'd be more curious than that. He's a propane salesman. You'd think he would inquire, do you use a propane grill? Would you like, well, come on down to Strickland Propane. Elminato says the Bureau of Control calls them cops. Calls them oops, sorry.
Are you kidding? No, I cook with that.
Bureau of Control.
Heat. Give meat nice taste of wood.
And I cook with propane. Gives meat nice taste of meat.
King of the Hill's supposedly coming back, too. Hopefully that'll be good. I demand trans femme Bobby. It's real. You know it to be true.
But under the rug, they never talk about it. But they admit, when pressed, they admit that we have no idea how they built these structures. Saw marks.
I'm kind of joking about the Bobby trans femme thing, but has anyone else seen Bob's Burgers? Gene from Bob's Burgers? I don't know if it's like it's a joke in like the writer's room or something, or running like, but it seems like they regularly will make jokes about Gene being a girl and acting like a girl, but not in like a derogatory way, and Gene calling himself a girl and stuff all the time on Bob's Burgers. I really feel like Gene is trans femme, and I don't think Bob or any of them, I think they'll be happy if she comes out. Egg Gene. Dr. Gamble with 50 bits.
That's
my purse. I don't know you.
My purse. I don't know you. Oh, oh.
Rocks that are literally melted into...
They're not melted, they're shaped, you fucking idiots. They're fucking shaped. Melted. You idiots. That's not how shit works.
As if some form of subatomic energy.
Or they had tools and sanded the shit out of it and shaped the stone, because that's what masons do. It's literally their job. Sheba Hawk says, subscribes for 24 months. Happy 2nd anniversary. Says, we did the thing. Happy 2 years, which I believe is the gift of sandwich. Your sandwich is on the way.
Able to just melt these rocks. You can't.
I hope you like Fluffernutter.
A human hair in between those cracks. We have cities off the coast of India, off the coast of Japan, full-blown ancient cities.
Your copy of Tears of the Kingdom arrives tomorrow. Oh, you're gonna love it. If you liked Breath of the Wild, you'll love Tears of the Kingdom.
Underwater. They don't talk about it.
I'm wondering what the DLC is going to be, because I know they're coming out with DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. Hopefully lots of building components. I think they should do a whole DLC pack where they just do building components. Different wheels and chassis and objects. Basically just expand the building system, because it's great as it is, but if you could continue to expand it, it could be perfect.
We're supposed to just act like nothing happened? Act like
Breath of the Wild was overrated? That's fair. I'm not one of these people that, like, you know, gets mad about other people's video game or movie opinions, for that matter. It's all media, and everyone's entitled to their opinion on it. I really love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I think they're some of my favorite Zelda games. I'll always loved Wind Waker the most, because it was what introduced me to not only Zelda, but like open world adventure games in general. Like that was the first open it's hard to call Wind Waker non-linear, because obviously there is a linear story progression. But you know, in Wind Waker there is an element of exploration of the Great Sea, and there's a lot of side quests and stuff. I think that was the first game I played as a kid that had that kind of openness and ability to go do other stuff and just fuck around. So it's always going to be special to me for that reason. But Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are amazing games. And like, there are problems with them, but they're really solid. I don't expect everyone to like them for what they are, but they're doing exactly what they were designed to do in terms of their gameplay loop. You could not like that gameplay loop, but it's solid for what it's meant to be. Hydrate.
Okay, back then there were cavemen.
Cavemen. Hard pass. How's this one? It's got a cool kind of steampunk image. Did I see the Zelda fanboy? What the Zelda fanboys did to Stephanie Sterling? Oh God, why? What did they do? Did she just, like, not like the game that much? Which is fine. You can disagree with people and not be a fucking weirdo. Like, this isn't like some, like, thing where people are like, 7 out of 10. That's more than reasonable. That's fine. If that's all she got out of it, that's fine. It's a review. That's the point. Ugh. People are such assholes. It's subjective, yeah. And, like, if you don't like what she has to say, that's fine. You don't have to listen to her, but really? You're, like, shitting on her because she didn't like the game as much as you do? I've actually never played Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. They were before I got into Zelda. Like I said, Wind Waker was my first one. I'd go back and play them, because they're available, I think, at least Ocarina, I think, is available through the Switch N64 app or whatever. But I just feel like the gameplay's probably aged so terribly, I won't get anything from it, you know? I've done better versions of it in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Maybe I'll try it sometime.
The questions we always had. The answers you were never given. The place to seek the truth. Welcome to Veritas.
Like, I would understand maybe if someone gave, like, the Zelda game, the new ones, like, a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, and it felt like they hadn't even played the game, or they're just, like, making incorrect statements. But, like, people's opinions are their own. It's fine. It's fine. And even then, it wouldn't be right to harass anyone or do anything about it. It's just a video game review, people. I feel like I'm terminally online, but even I, like, know where these lines are. I don't understand what's wrong with other people. I've been just as terminally online as everyone else growing up. I don't get why people don't understand basic niceties of not being an asshole.
Please pay attention to every word, as the information you're about to hear may shake your beliefs and foundations.
Okay.
The history of mankind is another totally different from what we are taught in schools and universities.
Gasp! Why is this carpet made of ground beef?
Always promoting scarcity, always in conflict and chaos. You'll never be told.
Looks like an AI tried to reproduce the carpet from The Shining.
That there was a time when human civilization lived in peace and harmony, with entire cities and...
Why is your floor a poorly made pizza? Those are my 3 carpet jokes for the stream. You're welcome.
Structures built, which cannot be replicated even with today's technology. By using free energy, electromagnetism, sound, frequency, and vibration, the materials used, and the plasmatic cymatics that can be seen in its architecture. Can you imagine free energy?
They're so obsessed with free energy. If you want free energy, I would suggest that you get behind politicians who want to subsidize and put money into things like solar and wind energy, even nuclear, which someday are hopefully going to provide for us more than enough energy for our needs. Discordant Vol says, speaking of games, Stasis Bone Totem came out recently. If you like point-and-click horror games, I'm not big on horror games. I like the Resident Evil VR games, mostly because I'm a big VR fan, but I don't usually do a ton of horror.
Atmospheric ether domes that seem like...
That said, PT was pretty great. It makes me sad that that never got made.
Ornaments using mercury...
Though we did get that other game instead with Norman Reedus, and I do like that game. For some reason I'm blanking on the name, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Gold and copper.
Am I going to play Resident Evil 4 in VR? Probably eventually, yeah.
Really were collection device.
My next pickup for VR is probably going to be a mini golf game so Baha and I can play together. And then maybe Beat Saber. Because I know they put out a Queen music pack for Beat Saber, and I love me some Beat Saber and some Queen, so...
Pieces of the ether. The 5th element that surrounds us.
The 5th element.
Did you know that, oddly enough, all World Fair...
I was taught that the 5th element was love, and Bruce Willis wouldn't lie to me.
Locations burned down, along with all major locations. With this advanced architecture worldwide, they all had related structures that can harvest free energy, resonating a higher frequency. Star forts, antennas, water towers.
Ooh, what's my favorite Queen song? I'll have to look. Different songs have different vibes, so it depends on my mood, but if I have to pick one in general... You gotta go with Under Pressure, right? In terms of overall song, I'll say Under Pressure. That's one of the best songs ever written or performed, in my opinion. I know that's not a hot take. It's a very popular song. It's one of those popular songs of the decade and all time. I understand. It's not a hot take. But Under Pressure fucking slaps. I'm also a big fan, though, of I Want to Break Free. That's pretty good as just like a fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want song. Don't Stop Me Now, similarly. Killer Queen's good, too. Ooh. Another one, they're just all good. Queen's great. Queen's great. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike.
Hours. Glass prism sidewalks, etc.
Dr. Gamble says, hot take, weapon durability in every game is trash and has never been implemented meaningfully. Let me think about it. I don't mind it in, like, hardcore mode for games. Like, if you're playing, like, Fallout or some sort of survival game, like Fallout on survival mode specifically, or something like that, I understand, because it's one of those things. In a survival game, you have meters a lot of the time that you need to keep an eye on, you know? Water, food, medicine, if that's an aspect of the game, and sometimes weapon durability. I think it's fine if the game is going for some sort of survival thing, because it's something that keeps you tense, keeping track of these resources. But otherwise, I would tend to agree. I like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The weapon durability is the thing I hate the most about it. The fucking Master Sword, fucking after like 30 hits or something, I don't know the exact number, disappears for like 10 minutes, really? It's the fucking Master Sword. It's the one sword that should never, ever go away. I don't get it. Speak the Truth says Freddie Mercury was a siren and nobody can tell me otherwise. Yeah. Oh yeah, they kept that in Tears of the Kingdom. Terrible choice. If anything, it feels like the time for the Master Sword is less, but that might just because I'm used to the durability it has after the DLC from the first game. I don't know.
All ended up.
It's a little better in Tears... I know I'm tangenting, I apologize. It's a little better in Tears of the Kingdom because you can kind of repair weapons once by adding an item to it, fusing it and creating a new weapon. But that's a band-aid on a gaping wound that is the durability problem in the new Zelda games. I've not beat the game yet. I've done the entire main quest line up until the Ganon fight. I just haven't done the Ganon fight. I'm going around doing other side quest stuff. I did all the fairy fountains. I did all the main dungeons. I've done a ton. I don't even know how many shrines, but I have like 1.5 rows of hearts, and I maxed my stamina. I have full batteries. I've done almost all the light routes. I have like 3 or 4 left to find. I can see the whole map. I don't know. I've done a lot of the game.
Up in fires, earthquakes, and a mud flood reset. Because our time history is off. This could have been a global reset.
I found all the Yiga schematics, or most of them. I defeated the master of the Yiga clan. I don't know if I found all the schematics yet, but I found most of them for sure. Returning to Queen took you a second to find. Let's see what it is.
Is this the real life?
Literal Bohemian Rhapsody.
Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide. No escape from reality.
Open your eyes.
Open your eyes.
Look up to the skies and see.
Look up to the skies and see. I'm just a poor boy. I need no sympathy because I'm easy go. Easy go. A little high. A little low. Any way the wind blows, it doesn't really matter to me. To me.
I mean, this is kind of what I imagined the song was about anyway. I always kind of, maybe it's just because of my brain, I always imagined it as operatic, telling a story that I already kind of imagined like this, where this is literally happening and then he's put on trial. But seeing it's interesting, because the music video, of course, isn't anything like that. It's very abstract. We've all seen that music video.
Mama. I just killed a man.
Put a gun against his head?
Put a gun against his head.
I'm not going to just quote the whole thing. I know we know the lyrics. It's one of the most famous songs of all time.
Pulled my trigger. No, he's dead. Mama. Life had just begun. Now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama. I didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again, this time tomorrow, you carry on. You carry on as if nothing really matters. It's too late. My time has come.
Might like this. Someone is making a War of the Worlds game. Check it out after this.
Down my spine. Body sinking all the time. Goodbye, everybody. I gotta go. Gotta leave you all behind. Face the truth.
It's a good interpretation of that line. I'm cool with that. It's alright. Cool.
Ooh. I don't want to die.
How are they gonna justify the Figaro?
I sometimes wish I'd never been born at all.
Dun 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 dun.
I see a little silhouette of a man.
Scaramouche, Scaramouche, will you do the fandango? Thunderbolts of lightning, very, very frightening scene. Galileo, 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 Figaro.
Scaramouche!
Oh my god, it's so fucking good. Oh my god, is an officer gonna be named Scaramouche?
Scaramouche!
I would've.
Will you do the fandango?
What does Scaramouche mean? A fandango is a lively Spanish dance for two people. It's kind of what I assumed from context clues. It's an old French dance? Okay. That's kind of weird then. Where did it go? It was over here.
Thunderbolt.
Scaramouche is is an Italian clown figure. Okay.
And lightning.
Very, very frightening. Me, Galileo. Galileo.
Okay, it's like a code. Sure.
Galileo Figaro.
Magnifico. And I'm just a poor boy. And nobody loves me.
He's just a poor boy from a poor family. Spare him his life from this monstrosity.
Easy come, easy go.
Will you let me go?
Bismillah.
No, we will not let you go.
Let him go, Bismillah.
We will not let you go.
Let him go, Bismillah.
We will not let you go.
Let me go.
We'll not let you go.
Let me go.
Never. Never let you go.
Let me go.
Never.
Let me go.
Oh.
No.
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 No. No. No.
Oh, Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia, let me go.
Beelzebub is the devil put aside for me.
For me.
That's a good choice. That's an interesting choice to split that line up into three separate people as showing that they're all in a situation where they feel as though they're about to do something that they need forgiveness for or won't be forgiven for because of the immoral nature of the action they're about to take. The cop shooting this guy shooting the cops, the mom, who the fuck knows. Just creative. It's an interesting. It's an interesting like experiment. Like if this was a little student film, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's creative. You took a thing and adapted it in an interesting way. Cool. Oh yeah. I feel like Queen's music is begging for a jukebox musical along the same lines as like Mamma Mia. But like an epic fucking badass, and I love Mamma Mia. I love Mamma Mia 1 and 2. I am not dissing Mamma Mia, far from it. I want that to be the template for some kind of awesome rock opera based upon the music of Queen. Does it exist? Does it suck? Because it seems like that would be great. The music already lends itself to telling a narrative, I think. So much of it is like very emotional and longing and yearning, themes that pervade musical theater, you know? But I've just not heard of that.
Any way the wind blows.
Although, in fairness, as much as I like the lyrics of Queen songs, and I think they're really well written, Freddie Mercury does carry a lot of it, so maybe without, it's not as good. Like, there's a reason Queen hasn't come out with a hit song in the same way since Freddie died. No offense to the other people in Queen. They're all, I'm sure, great musicians, but Freddie was the guy. Oh, here's the trailer? Okay. Thank you, Meatball Spaghetti, for the link. Sorry, I know I'm getting way off topic now. It's okay, though. Yeah, I don't know. This arrangement of this song, how do you make We Will Rock You not hype you up? Something about the arrangement of it isn't doing it for me.
Get on your bikes and
Like, the guitar riff's pretty good. I'd probably enjoy the show, but I think I can see maybe why it didn't become a big hit and why I've not heard of it.
It's rock and roll. It's anything you want it to be.
Atheist Brony says, I think Queen doing the theme song for the Highlander TV series is the closest we'll ever get. I didn't know they did that. Oh, Flash Gordon's one of the best fucking songs, too. I'm already over this. Now I just want to listen to Flash Gordon. You guys got me off track. Congrats, you win, chat. Oh, fuck yeah. I'll remove this from YouTube. We gotta watch it. Do you guys like Flash Gordon? If you're in this chat, the answer should be yes. Spoilers for Flash Gordon. A movie that came out like 40 years ago. 50 years ago, no, 40 years ago, based upon a serial from the 30s. It's a movie, not a TV show. Although there was a Flash Gordon TV show on the Sci-Fi Channel briefly, I think ran 2 seasons, and I liked it at the time.
What plaything can you offer me today?
An obscure body in the SK system, Your Majesty.
He was also part of the Defenders of the Earth, but we don't talk about the Defenders of the Earth. Mandrake the Magician is garbage.
The inhabitants refer to it as the planet
Earth. Unfortunately, because of the time that Flash Gordon was invented, the main villain, I want to say his name is Ming the Merciless, is a villain along the same lines of, like, the Fu Manchu character. If anyone's familiar with comics and media of the early mid 20th century, there's a lot of racist and characteristic depictions of Asian people as villains. What is the name of this trope? I know there's a Yellow Peril is the name of the trope. Thank you. Ming falls into this. And when they adapted this in, like, the 80s, early 80s, when they made the movie, well, I like the movie a lot. So it's yikesy, but no. Hydrate. Chromatic Cuttlefish says, whenever he's introduced to anyone, Brian Blessed says the only thing they ever wanted him to do from his long acting career is bellow, Gordon's alive! At them. Like the villain in that Doctor Who episode, One of Us is Yellow. I guess I don't remember that one. I know the Celestial Toy Maker was that same kind of trope.
Destroy this
Later. I like to play.
Ming was a Chinese state that existed for a long time in history. I'm familiar with the Ming Dynasty. I took AP World History. I'm familiar with the Ming Dynasty.
Things while before annihilation.
I guess I shouldn't say that. Why would you assume I know about the Ming Dynasty? I'm in America. America tends to have a pretty bad education system. I took AP World History, so I know about world societies that have existed other than America and the UK. How do I know what you know? You don't. I'm being an asshole. I'm the asshole here. I apologize. Fuck yeah.
Savior of the universe.
Sounds like a glorified Dayman. It does. Dayman sounds like this, to be clear. But yes, Dayman definitely sounds like it. Charlie Day probably took some inspiration from this song and probably others to do Dayman. This is Queen. Queen does Flash Gordon. An animated film was under development at Disney Fox with Taika Waititi writing and directing. In August 2019, the animated film was believed to be canceled, but in July 2021, producers John Davies and John Fox revealed that Waititi was still working on the film, albeit it would now be live action instead of animation. Okay. Cool. I'd watch it. I think Flash Gordon, you could do something with it. Like, I like this movie. It's campy and cheesy and fun. For those who don't know, in the movie at least, I don't know the serials. I didn't watch the serials or read the old pulp comics, but in the movie, Flash Gordon is an all-American football player who just happens to get stranded on an alien planet ruled by Ming the Merciless, and he, with his American spirit and all-star attitude, get all the other forces. He recruits other forces on the planet to fight against Ming. He's just likable and competent. He's sort of the pulpy trope of the ultra-competent man. Again, there's probably a word for this. Heinlein liked these kind of people a lot. The ultra-competent... I'm modernist, man. I am, with my wits and American attitude, I will conquer the universe. American exceptionalism type stuff, yeah. And I think that's fun in a really corny, outdated way. As much as I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment. I have this movie in 4K. And it looks pretty good in 4K. Like, the effects, of course. Some of the compositing hasn't aged the best, but it's a beautiful looking movie.
King of the impossible. He's for every one of us. Stand for every one of us. He's saving the body and every man, every woman, every child, every Flash.
It's fun, pulpy, campy 80s action.
No!
Oh yeah, that's Timothy Dalton. He plays one of, he ends up having to fight Flash Gordon, because only one of them's allowed to live. It's like a trial by combat thing that Ming puts them through. So they have to fight, but of course, it's sort of an action-adventure, swashbuckling thing, so in their fight, I think they end up, like, teaming up and being like, and working it out that they can use each other to get out of the place. And then, of course, Flash Gordon recruits him and his people, in order to help overthrow Ming. He was a polo player in the OG comic and got to the planet because the professor failed to suicide bomb Ming. That's a shame.
Just a man with a man's courage. Nothing but a man. You can never fail.
And of course, I believe this is Ming's daughter? Everyone wants Flash Gordon, even Timothy Dalton. Even though Dalton is objectively more attractive than Flash Gordon. This was this thing from Hardcore Henry. A movie that I don't know if I'll ever watch again in totality. It probably gives a lot of people motion sickness, though I don't know. It doesn't give me it. Fun experimental movie, though. It's a movie that takes place entirely in first person if you haven't seen it, and it's an action movie. Song also used to great effect in Shaun of the Dead for a similar scene where they're beating up zombies in the Winchester. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if Baha tried to watch this, she would vomit. Ooh! Oh, God! It's probably on streaming somewhere at this point, if you want to watch it. Ah! We get it. Oh boy, I got way off topic. Okay, Tartaria.
The quote-unquote end of day, so to speak. And perhaps the mud flood was caused from a pole shift or from an exotic weapon owned by the...
This picture reminds me a lot of Columbia from BioShock Infinite.
New World Order parasites. Could this new awakening or apocalypse, which in Greek means the unveiling, we shall be given the truth. And this free energy technology, once again, it shall happen rapidly with the light and dark forces battling for the final outcome. Could we soon witness a plasma dimensional change? We are now giving pieces of the puzzle, obvious symbols, messages in media, movies, everywhere. I think we shall know more as time goes narrowing to the point of who shall win this spiritual battle this time. In most areas of life, the old world was at least 100 times better.
How are you quantifying that? 100 times? 100 times. What are you basing that number on?
That one has evolved exponentially and ambitiously over the last 100 years. By many miles, the main reasons were due to human consciousness connections to the whole universe, including to other human beings, through God and spirituality. The new world is riddled with disorders.
Wonder if the History Channel's ever talked about Tartaria. I wouldn't put it past them.
Including physical, mental, and environmental. Because too many have lost, most by choice, their ability to communicate and connect. And have a relationship with the Creator, truth, and light.
See what I mean, though, about the Tartaria people all having different explanations for Tartaria? Sometimes it's a flat earth thing. Sometimes it's a woo-woo spiritual thing like this, where it's about connection with God and the universe, you know? Different people, and some different people have different reasons they think it's true. It's so interesting.
And instead, choose to follow and support.
It's like this is a pre-made explanation in search of a question. And a bunch of people with random nonsensical questions based on conspiracy thinking all found the same answer, even though they all think it for different reasons.
Toward evil forces, for their agendas of perpetual profit, control, and power. These types actually think they are some sort of good themselves, try to act the part, and their religion is a dark cult used...
It's Mad Libs a little.
...to weaponize science and technology throughout societies and systems. Systems they have actually mostly hijacked from the previous founders, builders, teachers, etc. In order to...
Don't understand these people are scared of 5G and vaccinations, but they think ancient tech was so good. You gotta understand that stuff like 5G and modern technology like vaccinations, it's not that in and of themselves that a lot of these people hate these things. These are symptoms of a greater problem for these people, and it's that they have a mistrust in institutions. They have a distrust in the society that they live in, sometimes for justifiable reasons, because they're not being taken care of by society. Arguably the social contract that we were taught as children, that if you work hard and do your best, then you'll be rewarded for that adequately, that we live in some sort of meritocracy, even a little bit. You know, I think of a lot of us, at least in the United States, I don't know what it's like elsewhere, we're taught that, and we integrate that, and then we grow up and we realize that's not really how things are running. So people, especially nowadays, many, come with this sort of... They understand that they don't trust the system because they've been lied to and life hasn't turned out the way that it was taught to them, but they don't really understand why. They don't understand the systems at play that subjugate them through basically artificial poverty, right? They don't understand these things, that they're being taken advantage of and why. So instead they have to come up with these simpler explanations and cast everyone that they feel is an authority in some sort of suspicious light. The kind of people who invent vaccinations, the kind of people who invent 5G. These are all people who are supported by them, the institutions, science, society at large. Therefore, they assume automatically that it must be bad or suspicious because they're already suspicious of these entities, because they have demonstrably in their material reality been mistreated compared to how they thought life was going to go and how the system was going to treat them. Discordant Vol says, I followed the rules, why aren't I happy? Yes. And it's easier to say, oh, it's a big conspiracy to hide that there's actually some natural state to the world where everything is perfect and amazing, than it is to imagine that society is a complex series of people, millions, billions of people with different motives and motivations. It's the same thing, motives and motivations, with different motives and opportunities, different tools at their exposure, all doing different things that kind of as a sum creates a large complicated system. They don't like that, so it's got to be, there's a single entity, them, who is controlling everything. It takes a complex web of cause and effect and turns it into a linear conspiracy, and that's easier to understand. And in some way comforting, because it implies that, oh, no matter what, eventually things will stabilize back to how they're supposed to be, but there is no natural state to society. Society is a completely constructed concept, so it just kind of exists however it exists based on the sum of activities of people within it. But that's hard and not fun, so. Conspiracies.
To win at all costs. However, truth is still available. You just have to know where to seek it, how to connect to it, and make a continuous effort to align with it. It is not coming from the majority of these modern mentally disordered powers that be, and only in quote-unquote selected bits and pieces, i.e. partial truths, half-lies, or deceptions, from centralized organizations, including media, academia, sciences, medical and pharma, government sources, or from those with agendas, especially hidden agendas, and those using covert methods to target and are trying to control others. It is not a matter of if our history has been rewritten. We know that it has.
No, at least not in the way you're talking about. There is even the concept rewritten our history is one that kind of fails to understand how history exists in the first place as a study. Like, there's an entire field of study just around studying how historians have changed how we view history. It's called historiography. It's the history of keeping history. It's the history of how history as a narrative has continued to change and how our study of it has changed. Right? So to imply that history has been changed implies that there was at some point some static objective view of history that was then corrupted, when in reality, history is always sort of a narrative that we're coming up with. Again, ideally you want it to be as accurate as possible, but it's stories being told based upon first-hand accounts and primary source documents that inherently are coming from a subjective point of view, and then are, on top of that, being interpreted by subjective individuals. Don't get me wrong, historians are individuals that are, you know, well-versed in history and how to do this, but there's always some level of subjectivity involved. That's why there's conflict within history about how, why, what this happens on details, right? It's just, it's weird to me that these people believe that there's some idyllic state of the world that has been taken away from them, and not that that is something to strive for that would require work. It's like they don't understand entropy, right? Perfect societies don't just form randomly. They don't exist ever, really. But like what they're thinking of, something like this, where things function very well and people are treated fairly, aren't the result of people just stepping back and letting things happen. It would be the result of concerted effort on the part of most people in society to want those things to be the driving forces behind the actions society, governments, and other entities take. Discordant Vol says, because it's a narrative with a good guy, bad guy dynamic, it also grants a measure of comfort that at least somebody is behind the wheel, even if they're evil. A crazy person driving a bus is less scary than no one driving a bus.
But who did it and why? The parasite that infects all peoples and nations destroys history. We are left with no real past. A fake one, perhaps. Without a real past, we have an uncertain future at best. Tonight we uncover not only what has been hidden, but stolen in plain sight. Our history. The what, the who, what happened and how. Negative, parasitic, and opportunistic beings invented and...
This is anti-Semitism. I don't know if this guy is explicitly going to say it, but calling a certain part of members of society parasitic is literally Nazi talking points, and it's I mean this literally, and I mean literally, not in the way people mean, like, for realsies, yo. I mean, like, literally in the literal sense. That was rhetoric used by Adolf Hitler himself, calling Jews like parasites and stuff. That's a primary rhetoric of the Nazi Party. So, that's not good.
New timeline based on the existing physical infrastructure and original history. Get ready for Tartaria, the Moors, the Old World Order.
Useless eaters as well, true. Another piece of rhetoric that I saw some right-wingers espouse recently. So that's fun.
And the Mud Flood reset.
You are listening to Veritas. If this is your first time, welcome home. To listen to tonight's full interview and all of our material, join the Veritas family and click on the subscribe button at Veritas Radio.
But tell me about you, where you grew up.
Okay, enough of that guy. Someone sent me this Arnold Schwarzenegger trailer for his new movie, or new TV show. We're wrapping up the stream, so let's watch some fun stuff to wash the taste of neo-Nazi out of our mouths.
Now you can be Luke Bruder, a legendary CIA agent who's ready to retire.
You tell HQ, I'm retired.
But his one last job turns into one big surprise.
My daughter is in the CIA.
He's ready to risk it all to protect his family and save the world. Thought he was done, but he's not done.
Why don't I do the vegan jerk anymore? Vegan teacher? I don't know. She just got boring. She was just doing the same exact thing every time and not even in an interesting way like Chris.
He's an undercover gym equipment salesman. He's strong. That was her violin arm. He's fast.
You're the fastest 65-year-old.
So is this like a comedy action series he's in?
On the planet.
And he's a proud granddaddy.
Where's my grandbaby?
Yeah, I've seen the video he released advocating against extremism.
Oh yeah.
Have I kept up on the Trump buck scam? I've seen some of the Trump, like, fake check scams, the fake money scams. Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
Walls.
Did I see the Oompaville video with the vegan teacher? No.
Proud of you. I'm proud of you. proud of you.
Is he a cybernetic organism?
Well, no, but he does use the internet.
I go with cock hoarding.
Everything is totally FUBAR. Relationships are totally FUBAR. His job is totally FUBAR. The world is totally FUBAR. Check out FUBAR, only on Netflix.
Look action figure is not a real toy. Netflix subscription sold separately. Hit replacement is not included.
Each sold separately.
Yeah, looks funny. Someone made a novelty Trump reward card item that people thought was real, and MAGA heads invested thousands into it. Genius. Narrator 9000 says, your comment on conspiracies as answers in search of a question relates well to Dan Olson's comment about conspiracy theories appealing to people because if they were true, they would validate the rest of what those people's worldview is. The theory slots into a wider narrative. Yes, I would agree with that. That's a really good video, by the way. I'd recommend it. I think it's called, like, Searching for Flat Earth, or In Search of Flat Earth. About half the video's about Flat Earth, and then it veers into QAnon. It's a great video.
Hey, Weege, I just found this bag. I've never seen it before. Is it yours? What's in it? Let's see. Now that I see it, I think it's Daisy's. We had dinner the other night. Must have forgotten it here. Mamma mia! Collar? Leash? Are these chew toys? What is all this?
Why do I have to get a dog?
Hey, Weege, I just found this bag.
That's headcanon now. I believe that. Mork meets Robin Williams. Oh my.
Mork, I wish you'd take off the silly-looking glasses.
It's a perfect disguise, man. Everyone thinks I'm from L.A. Come along, Roland. It's been hyped by an advertising campaign. Now, personally, I'd rather be at home right now flossing my ears.
Can't believe it!
Doc, too.
A big, big, big favor of to
You know, you look a lot like... No, he's a woman now.
Same.
Excuse me, Mr. Williams, but I have a big, big, big favor to ask of you. I know you don't know me and I don't want to impose, but I'm supposed to get an interview with you for KTNS, and if I don't, I'll be fired.
Oh, yeah. It's been a bad year for her. She bet on Carter, Roberta Duran, and she had to buy Chrysler stock, too. Well, I got a minute. My manager's not here, and sure, why not?
Thank you. I can't believe it. Oh, thank you. You're doing me such a big favor.
What is Robin Williams famous for in the universe of this show? I understand he's a prolific stand-up comedian prior to Mork and Mindy, but like Mork and Mindy is the thing that I think put him on the map in terms of the general public and not just people who knew about stand-up comedians. Right? Did he have anything big that the public would have known about before Mork and Mindy?
I don't believe it. Oh, this is my friend Mork.
This is pre-Popeye era.
Hello.
And I'm Minnie McConnell.
You're not from the Inquirer, are you?
Pardon me?
Oh, little joke.
Mork was in one episode of Happy Days, and it was a backdoor pilot for Mork and Mindy.
No. Boy, you sure are a hard man to get in touch with.
Yeah, you have tighter security than the Pope. Boy, she could...
So presumably, in this universe, he also did not play Mork on Happy Days.
Get past your manager, secretary.
Why do I care about this shit? It's like I'm talking about nonsense. It's a TV show. Why am I thinking about this? It doesn't matter. It's literally just a chance for Robin Williams to improv against himself. It's fine.
Secretary's answering machine.
Would you please?
Sorry.
Wow, that is a wide shot to try and hide the body double. Or try to hide where the seam is in the, you know, where's the, I can't stick my arm into the thing. In between the chair where Robin Williams, Mork is, and Mindy, I'm assuming, is the seam where they, you know, spliced the footage together. That's why there's so much room between Mork and the other side. I don't know if you guys know this, but, you know, the split screen trick to duplicate yourself was pretty, it was already, like, a thing at this time. You know, that had existed since the silent era. But, like, actually being able to move the camera during these shots was pioneered in the film Back to the Future Part 2. That's when they first introduced the camera, whose movements were done by a computer. So it could redo the same shot, exactly the same motion, over and over again, so then they could do split screens with a moving camera and it didn't have to be stationary.
I know you've probably been asked this question a lot, but what's it like to be a celebrity?
Well, not bad, really. It's especially nice when you can get into restaurants at those really shishy places where they wouldn't even let you wash the floors before.
I have another question right now, a little fashion byline. Why do you wear baggy pants?
I don't want a visible panty line.
There's your headline right there, men. Robin Williams, kinky.
Well, you remember the Brotherhood of the Bozo. What do you wear?
Oh, that's where I keep my bees.
Do you mind?
Back off, yeah.
Mr. Williams, I don't know how you keep up the pace. I mean, you arrive from Hawaii, fly all night, and then go straight to the university and lecture for 3 hours.
Oh, that was a fluke, you see. The pilot of the flighter was on has a daughter who attends drama class here, and he asked if I'd talk to her class to return his favor.
Oh, what was the favor?
Well, he said if I'd lecture, he'd pull out of the dive.
I wonder how late in his life he did cocaine. Like, I'm sure he did cocaine. He was a comedian in the 70s. I'm sure everyone was doing cocaine. You know, he was in clubs all over the 70s and 80s. Of course Robin Williams did cocaine. But, like, do you think he did cocaine? There's no way he did cocaine past the 80s, right? Like, do you think 90s Robin Williams was doing cocaine? He was definitely doing it here. On Mork and Mindy, I'm sure he was doing cocaine.
Interesting concept. Men blackmailed by gravity. Write that down. That's news.
But then after the lecture, you performed until 3 a.m. at the comedy
He got sober. Do we know when? Did he talk about in his stand-up acts?
cabaret. And
I've seen some of his stand-up, but not a ton. I'm mostly familiar with him through his improv in movies and stuff. I love Robin Williams. As a kid, he was just in so many formative films. Not just for me, I assume for most of you as well. Most of you are in roughly my age group.
Oh, you're doing 2 shows tonight.
Well, 2 reasons.
He quit after Belushi died? Oh, yeah, of course he did. That makes sense. It's a shame.
See, I'm a performer.
Not a shame that he quit. Shame about Belushi.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it. And also, the owner of the comedy cabaret is a friend of a cousin of a friend of a friend of so and so. And, well,
what do we think of Mrs. Doubtfire? I like Mrs. Doubtfire. I think it's a hilarious movie.
Say no.
Gee, that's a great angle for my story. Robin Williams, the comedian who can't say no.
Excuse me. My dinner flew away. You mind if I have some of your star munchies?
Sure, why not?
Fun fact, in the scripts for Mork and Mindy, his part was blank and he was given an idea of the plot. Oh my god, that's so good. Of course you do that with him. He's the best improv person I've ever seen. Like, I don't know if you guys know this. I've done improv. Watching improv live is often painful. I think the best tool for improv is the edit and delete button. Improv is great for throwing ideas out there, but improv is at its best when you can cut away the bad stuff. But holy shit, Robin Williams was just a fountain. He could just go. That man was nuts and on cocaine for his early career. Gnome Pickle says, I found I had become an adult when I found I agreed with the Mom and Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh yeah, but that's a lot of movies. You know, you can't take them too seriously, otherwise it's like, ooh, creepy.
I was hoping you'd go for the trail mix. I can't believe this man's actually grazing in front of me. Well, back to you. I'm sorry to avoid you. I don't know why I can't say no. I guess I want people to like me. I hate myself for that.
That's probably true.
But I used to be able to say no.
A lot of people who are funny do so because when they were younger, being funny was a way for them to get attention and positive feedback, and it was a way of feeling good about yourself. I think that's one of the reasons that I really like Robin Williams. I was that kid. My home life was not good, and I'm not good at socializing with people in a normal capacity, or at least I wasn't as a kid. I'm a lot better now. Now I can, you know. I've learned to mask. I've learned to be better socially, right? But as a kid, I was terrible at it. I didn't know how to talk to other people. I didn't have siblings, so I didn't have any interaction at home other than my alcoholic parents, and they weren't normal. So I didn't know how to interact with people, but what I could do, I found, was make them laugh. And there is kind of a sadness there with, like, and I still, you know, this is my job. I try and be funny. I try and be interesting. There's always an element to that, I think, in people who are as funny as Robin Williams. And I'm not putting myself, I'm not that funny. I'm like, funny. That's why I'm a streamer on Twitch and not anything competent. But, like, for some people, being funny is a defense mechanism that they're able to use for their benefit. And underneath it's a lot of pain. And I feel that, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, before all this craziness started, my friends used to call up and go, Robin, come on, we're all going outside. It's really, there's some gnarly waves. We can all hang out, and I'd have to go, no, my mama said I have to stay inside and read Nietzsche tonight. Later on, I guess I felt really afraid to say no to them because then they all say, like, oh, Robin Williams, Mr. Smart.
I don't need a hug. I'm okay. I can get a hug from her when I am done with stream, and I'm sure I will.
Pants, big shot. Wow. You forgot your old friends. You can't lend me $10,000 for a new car. You won't do the Save the Shrimp benefit.
This is none of my business, but it seems like if they're really your friends, they'd understand. But it seems to me you can't say no to a total stranger.
You're right.
It also looks like you're probably taking advantage of a lot. You know, if you learn to say no, you'd probably have a lot more time to yourself.
Hi, wife.
Maybe that's the last thing I want.
Hello, Father.
Come in.
5 minutes, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. You didn't get much of an interview. I hope you're not disappointed. Disappointed? Are you kidding? You're breaking a perky little heart. If this interview means that much to you, tell you what I'm going to do for you. I'll put off my flight. Tomorrow morning when my managers are asleep, I'll sneak down to the TV station and do an on-camera interview with you.
You do an on-camera interview with me? Oh, I can't believe it. I mean, I was just supposed to write this up and let the anchorman read it. Oh, that is so...
Fennikagami says, while I agree with Gnome Pickles, I can't help but think if only we all could have had a dad who was willing to put on a dress just to be able to spend time with us. There's a beautiful bit of self-sacrifice there, even if it's a little creepy. Agreed.
Oh, nice. I can't believe it.
It's one of those things where, like, I understand. The premise taken literally of Mrs. Doubtfire, of course it's creepy. Of course it's creepy. Disguising yourself and pretending to be a different person so you can see your kids. The difference is it's a film, and as a film, we get the perspective of the protagonist, Robin Williams, and see that it's not malicious and he's not really crazy. He's just an eccentric guy that wants to see his kids. That doesn't necessarily make it right, but it is just a movie, and a comedy at that, so... It's one of those things you just kind of gotta let go.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I can't do that.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of a bad time for me, too. How about next July?
Mint. We were just talking about how you can't say no. And I'm not going to be another person just to take advantage of you.
Oh, don't worry about that. I'll learn to say no some other time. Come on, watch the show from the wings.
Oh.
Oh, excuse me. One thing before you go. Today I was chased by a mob of people who wanted to tear my clothes off. Is it because they said I looked like you?
Well, there's kind of a resemblance. Sounds like you just went through Celebrity 1A. How'd it feel?
Oh, it's frightening. I mean, why do you want to take a job where they tear your clothes off and throw you in the air?
Well, actually, I became a performer by accident. See, my dad used to have this job where he had to move around a lot, and sometimes he'd leave the forwarding address.
Oh, he didn't do that. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I was kidding.
That's a joke that 100% has some truth in it. Oh, poor Robin.
Actually, he packed me in the crates with the dishes.
What a guy, man.
Anyway, I was always being like the new kid in the neighborhood, and well, since I was suffering from a case of the terminal shy, I couldn't make friends that easily. I always spent a lot of time in my room, and I created my own little world, full of like all these little characters that had strange, unusual qualities. After a while, I realized that people found these characters kind of funny and outrageous, and then I got to the point where I realized that the characters could say and do things that I was afraid to do myself. And after a little while, here I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robin Williams.
We're on. Take care. Wish me luck. Bonne chance. Adieu.
Ooh, listen to that applause.
Something like that might make torn clothes worthwhile, man.
Let's go.
This is one of the saddest in retrospect scenes from Mork and Mindy. At the end of the episodes of Mork and Mindy, if you've never seen the show, the premise is that Robin Williams plays an alien who is on Earth to observe human society. And at the end of each episode, he usually reports back to his boss, wherein he kind of explains the theme or lesson of the episode in the form of explaining what happened to his superior. Gnome Pickles says, this is hitting home for me as the creating characters thing. That's what I did to survive having to spend time with my birth father. I would create characters I could talk to because he spent a lot of time telling me why I was wrong for feeling the way I did. I feel that. A lot of my escapism was channeled into movies. Like, my parents were alcoholics and shitty, but, like, they had enough money that they would... The only way that I ever felt, like, loved was when things were bought for me, because that was the primary way that I think my parents knew how to maybe show love? I don't know. It's a whole fucked up thing. But anyway, I would often get movies, and I was alone in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't drive anywhere. It was the middle of... We lived near nothing, you know? And I was stuck at home with those people that I didn't want to interact with, my parents, because of how they are. So I sat in my room and I watched movies. And this is going to sound so sad and depressing. I'm doing better now, I assure you. So, you know, those worlds in the movies and the characters in those became an escapism for me. They became, you know, friends and places I'd go to feel safe or comfortable or happy. Not literally, of course, you know, but, you know, in the escapism, watching media, reading a book kind of thing.
The molecules of tablecloth became another universe. And the planet I landed on must have been just an atom. The society was advanced in some ways and backwards in others. And the people, oh, especially Mandy, humble.
Mort, we've already discussed that.
Oh, I know that, your Wideship.
Mort, I know this may be painful, but tell me exactly how you felt when Mandy passed on.
Is this maybe this isn't even the right end thing.
Well, I felt anger at first, and anguish, and a sense of deep loneliness.
I can't even fully comprehend one emotion. All those emotions at once. It must cause insanity.
Well, it does at first, sir. And then after you have time to think, you realize the good side. You realize that love can extend beyond universes, and even beyond death. Till next week, sir. Nanu.
Yeah, that wasn't the right one. I know there was an ending scene that was so good.
calling us. Oh.
You mean they lose their privacy?
Well, so sometimes they can even lose their clothes. Oh, Nanu. Mark calling Orson. Come in, you Cineraminus.
Just
This actually might be from the episode we just watched.
get on with your report, Mark.
Oh, yes, sir. This week, sir, I learned what it's like to be famous on Earth.
That's good.
Well, sir, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. You see, most Earthlings try very hard to be recognized for what they do, but when they become stars, sir, they realize they're recognized wherever they go.
You mean they lose their privacy?
Well, sir, sometimes they can even lose their clothes. You see, being a star, sir, is a 24-hour job, and you can't leave your face at the office.
Isn't fame its own reward?
Oh, yes, sir, it is, but when you're a celebrity, everybody wants a piece of you, sir. Unless you can say no, there'll be no pieces left for yourself.
I thought all stars were rich, live in mansions, and drive big eggs.
I know, sir, that's the common misconception. But you see, to get that, you have to pay a very heavy price. You have responsibilities, anxieties, and, well, to be honest, sir, some of them can't take it.
I'm not buying it, Mort.
Why, sir?
It sounds to me like they have it made.
Well, most of them do, sir, but some are victims of their own fame. Very special and talented people. People like Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Lenny Bruce, Freddie Prinze, and John Lennon.
Let's do a cleanse of something funny from Robin Williams, and then we'll call it a night. That's incredibly loud. Apologies. Why is this not working?
Who could want to run for politics right now? It's like, at this point, taking over the presidency is like saying, here's the Titanic. It's doing quite well, really. I hope you don't mind. Good luck. I'm in the boat. The little one with the food and water.
And luckily, we are going to mix up the rub, and you're going to rub it into the meat.
Okay.
See, that shuts him up.
Luckily that I had that experience from the ages 12 to 22.
2 tablespoons of chili powder. Don't breathe it too much.
No, thank Wow. That is a very deep chili.
You ever go back to San Francisco? That's where you hung out a lot?
Look him up on Who's Line? Okay. Ooh, I like scenes from a hat.
Audience, write different suggestions down for stuff.
What's the dead rabbit for?
Hold on, let me turn this up a little bit. Was he filming 1-hour photo during this? Because he looks blonde.
My old career. Yeah. We asked the audience to write down different suggestions for things that they like to see. We take the good ones, put them in the set, and see how many of these guys can think of. Starting with unlikely superheroes.
It's me, run away from danger man.
Did someone call for Captain Pork?
No, we never call the cops.
I'm paranoid. God.
I can't even imagine if you're... And the Who's Line people are great at improv. In particular, Colin and Ryan are fucking awesome. But can you imagine the intimidation of having to do improv with Robin fucking Williams? Oh... It'd be like painting with Michelangelo. It's like, a little intimidating.
World's worst subject for an interpretive dance.
Diarrhea flows like a river. Impotence is a horrifying thing.
All right, if entertainers worked funerals.
Please gather around the body.
Oof, it's not there anymore. Huh? Thank you. Is this the loved one? All right, start the truck, Johnny. Wow, look at him move! Isn't that incredible, ladies and gentlemen? With just 6 volts, you can make your relatives dance again!
That's the winner of that round.
A dog.
Well, Harry and I would like to thank you all for coming by.
How was that the last one? That's brilliant. I didn't think of that either. Damn.
Famous Hollywood roles as played by Carol Channing.
Who's Carol Channing? Carol Channing. I'm not gonna get this joke. I'm probably dating myself by saying that. I don't get it. Where did it go?
Ah, God.
I know what you're thinking. Did I fire 7 shots or 6?
Old comedian with a weird voice? Okay. I think I actually recognize the voice based on just his impression. I've definitely heard the voice before.
Well, to tell you the truth, in all this confusion, I've forgotten myself. So you have to ask yourself one question. You feel lucky. What do you find? Well, surely you must be the Son of God. I'm Spartacus.
All right. That was really funny. Things you don't expect to hear when you put your ear to a seashell.
I'm Spartacus.
Is it just me, or is Wayne Brady consistently the weakest at improv and he's basically only there for the singing sections? Like, am I crazy? Like, he's not, don't get me wrong, he's funnier than I am, but like, in terms of the other people on the show...
Who's your daddy?
Yeah, they each have their strengths. I'm not trying to diss the guy.
We were discussing sex
Ooh.
when we did the takeoff on your show. Did you ever? Are they too young for that? Do you
Not
ever
at
get
all.
into?
That's where they learn the differences.
Yeah. Now, how do you handle it? What do you do to explain? What's your age range? Would you think who watch the show?
Mostly preschoolers, but I hesitate to say that because there's so many older people who watch.
Absolutely.
You know. But there's a song called "Everybody's Fancy"
right.
that I sing. Some are fancy on the outside, some are fancy on the inside. Everybody's fancy, everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so is mine. But the second verse is very important.
Now, what's the second verse?
Boys are boys from the beginning. Girls are girls right from the start. Everybody's fancy, everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so is mine. Because sometimes children think that they might change. They might have to change after a while. And, you know, we laugh about that now.
Sometimes we do!
But it's because we had that concern when we were little.
Yeah, because you're really not sure, and you thought maybe you'd become a girl or a girl would become a boy, right?
Exactly.
And
What?
happens frequently out here.
Don't get me wrong, I always hoped, but...
Sometimes.
Okay. We'll do this video, Best of Mr. Rogers, and then we'll call it a night, and we'll be back tomorrow for Tinfoil Tuesday.
What's made a difference in your life?
Oh, a lot of people. But a lot of people who have allowed me to have some silence. And I don't think we give that gift very much anymore. I'm very concerned that our society is much more interested in information than wonder, in noise rather than silence. How do we do that? I mean, in our business, yours and mine.
The entire video isn't Charlie Rose. It's a compilation of different Mr. Rogers things.
How do we encourage reflection? I trust that this book will do some of that, but...
Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, I'll call him by his real name. I mean, he was Mr. Rogers, but that's kind of his character. But his character really is kind of how he is. So, Fred Rogers is probably the most Christ-like person ever to live. If you know what I mean. If Christians were all like Mr. Rogers, the world would be a better place. It really would. He's genuinely the kindest, most understanding man that, like, I've ever seen, you know? Parasocially, of course. Gnome Pickles says, Hannah, if looking for smaller streamers to raid, my best friend has a rough day with her ex and is streaming Zelda today. Alright, we'll do that raid after. Sounds good.
Oh my, this is a noisy world.
Avant Gardner says, his death hit me more than any other celebrity. Yeah. Sad.
Mr. Rogers is certainly one of the best things that's ever happened to public television, and his Peabody Award is testament to that fact. We in public television are proud of Fred Rogers, and I'm proud to present Mr. Rogers to you now.
All right, Rogers, you got the...
Transphobes have been using the clip of him talking about boys and girls as an attempt to dunk on trans, and that's gross. That's disgusting. He would never, never, never do that. Ever. He's speaking from the perspective of someone in, like, the 70s. Mr. Rogers is incredibly understanding and willing to listen to people and be empathetic towards their positions. If Mr. Rogers talked to a trans person for 5 minutes, he would understand. It's not something that should be used like that, and it makes me very sad that some people have.
This is what I give. I give an expression of...
This is interesting. I find this so interesting. Mr. Rogers went in front of Congress and actually convinced this guy to change his mind on funding for PBS. Can you imagine someone doing that today in Congress? Hearing an impassioned speech and genuinely changing their mind? On the spot? Is it because he's coming from a place of empathy here? Or is it because... I don't know. Do people respond to that? Or is it just because of the particular time and place and person? I don't know. It's just interesting to me that he was capable of doing this.
Care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique.
Quote from Mr. Rogers Wiki, becoming more sensitive to gender issues, Fred Rogers slightly altered the third verse of his song for the You Are Special CD release. Original lyrics, only girls can be the mommies, only boys can be the daddies. Altered lyrics, girls grow up to be the mommies, boys grow up to be the daddies. Okay.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are. And I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service for mental health. I think that it's much more dramatic that two men could be working out their feelings of anger. Much more dramatic than showing something of gunfire.
You narrate it?
I'm the host, yes. And I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the scripts.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
He just had that quality. He's engrossing. I think a lot of people get attention, and I've been guilty of this too, by being loud, by being extra. He does the opposite. He's very measured and chooses his words very carefully and speaks softly. And it makes him just... you pay attention. He draws you in. That's what made him such an amazing presenter and communicator to children and adults alike.
Has to do with that good feeling of control, which I feel that children need to know is there. And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. I work with children, doing puppets in...
Fennec Agami says it's weird that right-wingers think Rogers would be on their side. They'd hate him, he'd march with BLM, and at least would tell the Republicans to leave the queer community alone, at least out of kindness. He was like the most woke celebrity ever. Yeah.
In very personal communication.
Like, literally, I'm pretty sure Fox News did an entire piece, like, 15 years ago, denouncing Fred Rogers and saying that he's the reason millennials and Gen X are shit or something. Because this was 15 years ago, when they were still shitting on Gen X a little. But, like, they were like, oh, Mr. Rogers taught everyone that they were valid for being human beings. That's wrong, because we're Fox News.
With small groups. What do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad you could bite. When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to.
The Westboro Baptist Church tried to picket Mr. Rogers' funeral for not being homophobic. Not shocking. They picket anyone as long as it can get them publicity. I don't even know if they still do it. I know a lot of the people left.
Can stop when I wish. Can stop, 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 anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this.
P-Meal says, the right wing tried to co-opt every beloved public figure who can't speak out against it anymore. Instant credibility with none of the legwork.
And know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful.
I've seen the Thor hammer thing, yeah.
I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
And that's how Mr. Rogers probably saved public television in America.
How many kids do you think are out there who in 30 years you've influenced, who you've made a difference in and made them feel something special?
I don't care how many, even if it's just one. We get so wrapped up in numbers in our society, and
Marjorie Taylor Greene would have absolutely ruined that moment in Congress. Yeah, she would have.
the most important thing is that we're able to be one-to-one. You and
I know about the house across the street from the Westboro Baptist Church. It's interesting. I guess both of them now. They got a trans one and a pride flag one, like a gay pride and trans pride.
I with each other at the moment. If we can be present
Public television is one of the good things America has done, and Republicans have continually tried to dismantle it, even to the point where now PBS... I don't know if this contract was still in place, but sometime in the last 10 years, they made an agreement with HBO to have HBO do some of the funding on Sesame Street in order to get, like, exclusive rights to Sesame Street for a certain period of time. Don't get me wrong, older episodes would still play on PBS, but the new ones would only be on HBO for quite a while. And that just makes me so sad. It's so antithetical to everything that, like, the creators of Sesame Street wanted it to be. A show to teach kids about emotions and life and people, just the world they live in, and to have that available for any kid. Lennon Cat says, here's Fox calling Mr. Rogers an evil man for anyone who's interested.
Hi.
Yeah, I don't want to watch that, but if anyone else does, go for it. Andy Pretzel says, Mr. Rogers and Sergeant Bob Ross were both the heroes of public access. One carried a true heart, the other brought the joy of painting and unintentional ASMR.
With the person that we happen to be with at the moment. That's what's important. It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. You always make each day such a special day. You know how. By just your being yourself. I'll be back next time. Bye-bye. Well, I know that when I walk out of the studio someday and there is a child who has Down syndrome, right, for instance, and that child comes up and gives me a hug, I know that that's the field that I want to be growing in, because I see that people who are not the fancy people in this world are the ones who seem to nourish my soul. And I want to learn how to be the best receiver that I can ever be, because I think graceful receiving is one of the most wonderful gifts we can give anybody. If we receive what somebody gives us in a graceful way, we've given that person, I think, a wonderful gift. This is my friend Jeff Erlinger. He's one of my neighbors here, and I asked him if he would come by today. I'd like to sing that to you and with you.
Okay, sure.
It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you.
Stephen J. Neptune Man says these young men out there looking for role models would be doing a whole lot better taking on Mr. Rogers as a role model than these assholes. This was made unironically. Yeah.
Not the things that I do. Not your fancy chair. That's just beside you.
I just read something I think came from you. It's you I like, every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings. Whether old or new, I hope you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like. It's you yourself. It's you I like.
It helps to be loved in order to work in this life.
Please welcome Jeffrey Erlinger.
Sorry, that got loud.
It is. Hey, I'm so glad to see you. Oh, thank you for coming.
What always strikes me about watching this clip is it's like he's not on TV here. In this moment, Fred Rogers does not give a shit that he is on television, that he is there to receive an award. He sees a child that he once had a special experience with as an adult. And he gets to go see him again and say hi and thank him for coming to see him, you know? That's his priority. And I think we'd all be a lot better off if that's how all of us were.
My pleasure. Oh. What a surprise. It's an honor to be here tonight, to be part of your this proud moment. You know, when you tell people that it's you I like, you know that you really mean it. And tonight, I want to let you know that on behalf of millions of children and grown-ups, it is you that I like.
It's about what, in the end?
It's about being. It's about the things that matter to me.
Yeah.
It's about the white spaces between the paragraphs, which I think are more important than any of the text, because it allows you to think about what's just been said. I had a professor one time, I think he's on page 20 or 22. His name was Dr. William Orr.
Right.
And he said...
Can we end streams with Mr. Rogers from now on? Maybe sometimes. We'll see how PBS feels about this being in the video on YouTube.
You know, Fred, there's one thing that evil cannot stand, and that is forgiveness. And you notice the rest of the page is blank?
Yes.
It needs a lot of time to think about that.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out. It's been fun, for the most part. It's been emotionally gratifying, for me at least. Okay, let's do this raid. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Tinfoil Tuesday. Love you too, Mr. Blast. And I hope you all have a great night. I'm tired. See you guys later.